Welcome to the Blackout Show, presented by the Guillen Grid, a show about the Chicago White Sox baseball, the good, the bad, the ugly. We'll debate what's working and what's not on the south side of Chicago. It's old school versus new school baseball. And most importantly, we're keeping all the receipts.
Yo, what is up, everybody? It's Gonzo here. With me tonight is the one and only, the female podcaster that is on the rise from the Listen Up podcast, and also your game host in the stadium, Alyssa Bergamini. Alyssa, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the intro. Yeah, I got my Listen Up cup that my sweet friend Ann made me, so I bring this everywhere, and this is the only merch I have. But I give everyone that has a podcast, I say this, I knew this already, but definitely now, it's a lot of work. So I give everyone credit who has a podcast. And I know you guys are always good about, doing yours weekly and getting all the content out there and doing it live. So anyone that is listening or wants to start a podcast, just know it's a lot of work. So appreciate these people.
It is. And can you actually tell us, like, how this came to be for you? Because I know since I last saw you, it was strictly game host, and then all of a sudden this past off season you just threw out this new opportunity.
I just was having a lot of thoughts in my head.
I want to hear it from your side of it, how it came to be.
Yes. So I really had this idea starting during the pandemic, but of course it was a little oversaturated at that time. And I was like, I don't think this is the best time. Hey, Ozzy Jr.
Hello.
Welcome.
Continue on.
We're talking about my podcast. We're going to have you guys on as a guest. So really my mission for it, I just have worked so many different jobs in the sports and entertainment space in Chicagoland area, even, working in Iowa here and there. And I've just met so many people with so many different career paths. And I have a lot of high school students or college students always reaching out to me and asking for my advice. And I could give advice all day long, and I'm always so happy to do so. But there's so many different paths in the industry, whether you want to be, in front of the camera, behind the camera, if you want to be radio, TV, podcast, or there's so many different opportunities now. So it's really just to highlight the people in my life that really have helped me along the way, and people that I've worked with that I've got to know well, but also people that I'm meeting along the way too. So recently at White Sox, we had WWE night, which first off, wild fan base, wild. And Megan Morant, she is from the SouthSide. She actually grew up in Lockport. She is the host now for WWE. So she got to do the game with me, and someone like that, like I've never met her before. We just were friends, through social media. So she's going to be my next guest on the podcast. And just, someone like her, she started out working, I think she was covering softball, and then she worked for the Patriots as a beat writer. And now she's the host at WWE. So I've had a lot of incredible guests on. I have a lot more to go. And Ozzy, what I was saying, I give podcasters so much credit because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of dedication and just getting the people to get on your show and then putting all the content out there and editing it and promoting it. So it's a whole different world, but it's fun. It's a fun one.
So it's hard being like you and doing a good job. I think it's easy being really bad at it.
No.
So I was trying to convince Alyssa to do a podcast for like 3 years. prior to her launching her podcast. So I was very happy when she did it
I take your advice.
Because I think that she's always been super talented, and in this industry, sometimes it's not how good you are, it's sometimes opportunities that you're getting. I think you were like flying to Boston the first time I told you you're somewhere in Boston. I think you were like interviewing somewhere there, and I was like, you should literally start creating your own opportunity. And it's really cool to see all the hard work that you put on early, that it's coming to fruition, like your own podcast and the White Sox, the Bulls, everything that you're doing. It's really awesome. So I'm a fan, obviously, of that standpoint of you doing it. And again, I enjoy your podcast, and I was very happy that I wasn't wrong. I was like, Alyssa she would have a really good show. She knows a lot of people that, and you've always been really easy to talk to. So I thought that it was just a great mix, and so far it's worked out great.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Every podcast that I've done so far, it's gone over an hour, and that is no surprise. Like at the end of it, I still can talk. We can still have conversations that go on and on, but you don't want it to be so long. I've made 3 people cry, happy tears. And in the few times it's happened, they're like, I didn't know that question was going to touch me like that. And it's usually just when people talk about themselves, and they're talking about from where they started to where they are now. And just, it's nice to kind of bring back certain memories, because sometimes you just go through life and you go through the motions day by day, and you don't really remember, how you remember how you got somewhere. But it's nice to kind of think about the details and the people that have made a difference along the way. So I've had 3 people cry, and I feel proud about that. I think I'm going to just continue to have people shed some happy tears.
That's not that. Again, I think that you're so easy to talk to. And so Alyssa comes from a famous mom in my sense. So everyone knows her mom.
I wish my mom was listening. I got to send her this link.
Her mom is probably one of the happiest people. Always gets hugs and kisses from me I've known her like for a long time, but they're very, and her sister's the same way. They're just like very happy people and very easy to talk to. And when you talk to them, you feel like you've known them your whole lives. So I think that's just something that it's in your nature. So you're not playing a character or a role. I really feel that that's when you have that, that kind of like, way to approach things, and you're a natural. That's why I think people are crying there. And the other part, Deutsch, I think you've become really, really good, which is not easy, and I have made money off of your picks, is the whole gambling. The whole gambling thing. Because I had not known you for being like a gambler. I had not known you to be a gambler.
Yeah, I got into that in 2020. I went from 6 jobs to none in 2020. And I was going out of my damn mind. So, how baseball slowly was coming back, but of course no fans. So I wasn't working there. And I actually just told this story yesterday. So I was tweeting out my picks just for the White Sox, and I was doing well, like way too well, where people started noticing it. Doing too well that people noticed, where the White Sox noticed, and they were like, hey, you can't do this. You can't talk about sports betting for the White Sox. And mind you, I'm not at work doing this, and this is new because betting became legal in Illinois in 2020. So I just saw this as kind of like a different approach, a different angle to what I was already doing. And being a female too, there weren't that many females out there catching on to this at the time. So they caught on that I was doing way too well. And they're like, you have to stop. I was like, okay, can I talk about other sports? And they were like, yeah. So that's kind of how then I got into basketball. And shout out Mitch Rosen, because he's really the one that, sought me out and brought me onto 670 The Score. Never thought I'd work in radio. And it is the best thing. It is, I think it just gave me like this new perspective on the broadcasting industry, and everyone I work with is so down to earth and so lovely. And not that that's not the case for my other jobs. It's been so refreshing, and it's been, I don't know, I feel like it gave me like a new like oomph, a new like set of life. Because you can get burnt out in this industry. It's easier said than done sometimes when you're working long hours, long days, maybe for teams that oh so hot. You can get burnt out. So I really appreciate, Mitch. And he saw a lot of my tweets with the sports betting. So it was kind of one of those things, better to ask for forgiveness than permission. And I didn't know at the time that I couldn't talk about sports betting, but now I know. So that's kind of how that all came to fruition. And it's not like I grew up really talking about sports betting, but it's if you understand it, it's easy to catch on to, and it's kind of fun. It's a lot of fun, I should say.
I'm very happy that you created this opportunity for yourself to go along with the day job. Because you're so natural at it. And when I was listening to both your episode with Sierra Santos and Chris Sims, both of them were great episodes for everyone that's watching right now. Go ahead and give it a listen on the Listen Up podcast.
Listen up.
Search for it on Spotify or whatever platform you listen to. But you talked, I think it was on the Chris Sims episode, you talked a little bit about your fandom growing up with the White Sox. I think he actually asked the question to you, but I wanted to ask, what are some of your favorite memories being a Sox fan or at the ballpark? I just want to hear a little bit of Alyssa's fandom.
Yeah. So grew up in Homer Glen, and my whole basement was filled with White Sox memorabilia. In specific White Sox, we had some Bull stuff here and there. So all I knew was, yes, of course I'm a White Sox fan. Like, why would I even be anything different? And then I went to college at University of Iowa, and I realized there's a lot of, I knew there's a lot of other teams out there, but once you start living somewhere else, that's when I feel like it really clicks with you. Like, this is my team. This is who I'm cheering for. I don't care if you like them or not. And that is why people wear the sports apparel that they do. That's why we buy the hats and the sweatshirts and the t-shirts, just to rep the team that you are cheering for. So I truly grew up a White Sox fan. I remember going to games as a little girl. I was obsessed with the Dippin' Dots. Like, I don't really think I was paying too much attention to the actual ball game. Just like little kids, they like going there, and Ozzy, I'm sure your kids love going there and eating and just flying around, seeing the mascot. So I loved it from, just day one growing up. And then, went to college, studied broadcast journalism. And during college is when I applied for the marketing role with the White Sox, the Chevrolet Pride Crew, what it was called back then. And that was 11 years ago. And I am still with them. And I still enjoy going to the ballpark, despite what the record is. Every time I go there, it is the best part of my day. I wouldn't say every moment there is the best part of my day, but it's nice to just kind of leave any problems or issues or worries that you have at the door. And then when I walk into work, I'm working at a ballpark. Like, I can't complain about that. And I really feel like even the pandemic kind of made me, especially, I appreciate it more now than I ever did before. Because you have to look at the big picture of everything. There's so much craziness out there in the world. I like this guy, rock on positivity rules. Yeah, that's what I'm going with. I'm going with positivity. And even when I'm at the ballpark, people are like, how are you smiling and like running around here and having a good time? I'm like, we're at a ball game. Just, yes, we know they're losing 9-0. What are you going to do about it? You're not going to do anything about it. Just enjoy your beer, enjoy your hot dog, enjoy the day. So I don't know if that answered your question, but grew up White Sox fan, and I will live and die with them. And I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
I give her grief. So I'm going to give her real quick. So I give her grief because when she started doing the game, so she's been positive. Again, it was a lot easier a couple years ago. And I always kept asking, I was like, are you still a fan? Because when you start working somewhere, you get jaded. And I've been through it with people that in the industry, it's like something very normal. And she actually is a fan. And she's on a very short list of people that I won't give any grief to. Because she's always positive. She's never negative about any player, any situation, which is very hard. And there's a lot of people out there that they'll be negative about certain things, but then be positive. She's always stays positive. So she doesn't get the Ozzy tweets of like, I told you so. Messages of like, I told you that guy was.
I don't get those from you, do I?
No, because you've always been positive. You've been positive from, when you started, working from the team, and it's never stopped. So I give you kudos because it's very easy to be negative about, a lot of things that have happened, and you're there every day, and, you're doing a tough job. So kudos to that.
Well, thank you. And I do realize everything that's going on. So I don't want people to think I'm just being like la-di-da, like bubbles flying around my head. Like I totally understand. Like I don't also want to be, working for a team that we don't know when they're going to be in the playoffs again. I realize that, but I also just want to be that person that you work with, that you enjoy working with, because who wants to work with sour people? Like, especially in a sports entertainment industry. I've worked with certain people like that, and it's just exhausting. There's enough exhausting things in life. So yeah, I mean, like I say, like when I go to the ballpark, I don't even sometimes check the weather because everyone's so obsessed if there's going to be a rain delay or not. I'm like, what are you going to do about it? That's up to the sod father. Let's have him worry about it. And then if we're going to be in this rain delay, we're in it. And then the game will happen. Or if it gets postponed, we get to go home. So that's kind of how I just have approached this job. I feel like from the start, and I feel like it's helped with, all the other jobs I've done.
And I gotta give you a lot of credit for that, just that positive energy. And I kind of have to put you in that same boat with Sheffrin right now, because both of your jobs, you have to take the most out of the moment. And when you see something positive going, or even if it's your own energy, you got put some more emphasis on it and just key off on it,
And in my job there too, it's my role is to enhance the fan experience. John is a broadcaster where he gets to talk more about the X's and O's and talk about if players aren't, doing so great. I don't get to do that, and I don't necessarily want to at this point, because I like what I'm doing. Just, making the fans happy the best way I can.
But at least I guess my connection or correlation is just, and John's situation, calling the game with bad play. It's just those little moments that he gets to emphasize on some awesome walk-off home runs, or in your situation, being with the fans, just creating your own positive energy and feeding off of it for the fans, experience at that ballpark. And I got to give the two of you credit for doing so, because it's very tough to do in times that we're currently in right now. And I'm hoping, at least for your sake, if it's for the White Sox or Bulls, hopefully soon, that we get some better times for the sake of it.
So is it bad on my end that, so the Bulls have always had, Alyssa's just like carried over. They've always had great fan experience, even from the championships. Like you go to a Bulls game, it's fun. But the last couple years, people are probably going to hate me on this for saying this, but the White Sox fan experience is still a very good one, even when they're getting destroyed on the field.
Yeah.
I really believe that. I believe that Alyssa, the entertainment, the food, being at the stadium, they'll hit a home run. They're 9-1. They'll hit a home run. And it's like the last. So I feel like from a fan experience standpoint, it's actually probably one of the best things that the team has in general, compared to other places that I've been on a consistent basis when the teams lose. Like you go to Miami and the teams are losing in the 2000s, not a very fun place to be. In Montreal. But the White Sox Stadium, like when I've gone and they haven't won, which has been the last couple of years, the experience is still pretty good.
Yeah. And I appreciate you saying that, because they do, the whole game presentation department does do a great job about putting on a show. And I mean, think about Bill Veeck. He is the one that started promotions. He's the one that birthed promotions, and it's with the White Sox. I mean, the reason that there are press boxes and fireworks is because of him. And you go to any other game now and you'll see that, or just anything that you see in minor league, stadiums, whether it's baseball or hockey, all those fun promotions, that is from Bill Veeck. And that is still true to the White Sox. So yeah, no shortage of entertainment. And people, I mean, I know there's pictures of empty crowds here on there, but they're not also showing that is before first pitch and maybe on a Wednesday and maybe a day game. Like kids are still in school. I think this is the first true week that it's nice out, for consecutive days. I mean, Saturdays, they're packed. I can't even move on the concourse. I have to push people out of the way. Everyone's drinking. Everyone's having a good time. Are they paying attention to the game? Probably not. That's fine. They're still enjoying their day. at the ballpark. So yeah, I am biased as well. But I do go to other stadiums too, and I'm like, oh, they need to do way more with their game presentation. Not enough. Not
Could
enough from them.
have you seen like how many other ballparks have you been to where you've seen like what you just said? I'm
Yeah.
curious.
I've been to 19. I am trying to go to all 30. Most recently, I went to Atlanta Braves, which beautiful stadium. They have a beautiful like outdoor area where there's all the restaurants, all the bars. But in terms of game presentation, like I can't even remember what they did. I don't even think they had an end game host. Some teams just don't have an end game host, and that's fine. They just play a video on the board. I mean, I'm trying to think of other ones that I've gone to. Obviously, Wrigley doesn't have one, but I don't feel like they need one. Red Sox, they have one. But yeah, there's really not a lot that I go to that I'm like, oh, that's better than what we do. I'm usually like, they need to do better.
That actually surprised me because like some of those stadiums like Boston and you would think that they would have one just to really, go that much more into outdoing themselves, as the atmosphere in those like historical places like Boston.
Yeah.
So I'm actually
I
glad to
guess it
hear that
depends
from
on
you.
the stadium. Yeah. And I've met a lot of in-game hosts through doing this job because there's only so many of us. So, the Milwaukee Brewers in-game host, her name's Nicole, and she's great, and she does a great job up there in Milwaukee. I think she does basically every game. So we've connected. Hannah Wing, she does the Texas Rangers, and she also does a ton of digital work with the Rangers as well. So she's a full-time employee there where she's the in-game host. She got to go to all the postseason games. They flew her there. I'm like, oh my God, do I need to work for the Rangers? I think I might have to. I was like, I don't think they would send me to postseason games, but I don't know. So yeah, I guess every team is vastly different, but yeah, I think we do it best.
So
'Cause I gotta go with that.
I wanted to bounce to a different topic here, but when the South Loop, the new stadium rumors came out, and we saw all of
Mhm.
the photos of the projections of it, what were your first thoughts? And like, did you just start like fantasizing about being a host in this new environment?
Well, when do we think this would come out? Because I think I might be a little bit too old at that point. I might need to pass the baton at that point. I don't need to be having like gray hair and doing that. I mean, it's beautiful. Like, who wouldn't want that? Who wouldn't want that? That's one of those things I will believe it when I see it, and I don't know when that might be. But yeah, who doesn't want something that's shiny and new? And so many people ask me about it. Like my friends are like, Alyssa, is this happening? I'm like, I wish I had more of the inside scoop. I wish I was higher up to know that. But it's a great location. I mean, even like what's going on with the Bears too. Like, I feel like South Loop would really build up at that point. Oh my God, my friend from Little Joe's, Kevin, he's chiming in. Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think?
We don't need it.
No,
I mean, I love to see the thought, but I always want the priority to be on the product on the field
Yeah,
first,
yeah,
and
yes.
then we can
That's
start
most important.
talking. Then we can start talking about new stadiums.
Yeah,
It's hard for me because I was raised in that at the Raid or the Cell,
hmm
however names it's going to have until the day comes that there's a new stadium. But um, I can't hate it where that location is. I just think Ryan Surf could have done a whole lot better with everything attached to even the outside, the extremities, like to make it like a Wrigleyville setting or like
yeah,
the ballpark village in St. Louis, to have that sort of rights outside the ballpark to really make
hmm
the experience that much more better. And you just brought up, if the Bears don't go to Arlington, if they do stay on the lakefront with a new stadium, it only ties everything that much closer together for possibly, in October when you have playoff baseball and you also have Bears games going on around that same time. That's going
yeah,
to be a crazy atmosphere, and I'm here. I'm all for it. It just, for me, it has to be at the right time, and
yes,
I hate hearing the rumors now when we have no direction on as far as the product on the field. So, but again, I do I love seeing the pictures. I'm trying to hamper it down a little bit.
Yeah, I product on the field should be top priority.
It's underrated. I think the stadium right now is underrated. For as long as old as the stadium is actually in really top-notch shape. When that stadium has an above 500 team and you are on the hunt, the stadium will get packed. People will come. You don't need a World Series championship team. White Sox fans are going to hate. They're going to say, I think, like Jerry, you don't need a World Series team. You need a team that's about 500 and going to go play baseball in September, and people will go nuts. It's hot summer. People will drink. People will have a great time. And this is where I defer from like the stadium and the neighborhood. Everyone has their own style. And the White Sox went away from creating this kind of like Wrigleyville because of like the communities that were around there.
Yes.
And it's not like you're walking 25 miles. I always say this, people are so lazy. Like walk the Turtles. Like eat a couple hot dogs and walk. Like,
it is so close.
It's so close. It's not,
people are lazy.
When the teams are good, you're parking over there anyways. So
yeah,
I went to grade school in those bars. I have a lot of dear friends in those bars.
You were in grade school going to those bars?
Yeah, I went to Santa Lucia.
And then you were just hopping over to Turtles?
No, it's funny because the person that used to take care of me, Marinella Bertucci, lives one house away from what now is Cork and Carey's, but I will always call Jimbo's.
Oh yeah.
I don't think kids, they didn't care for kids running in and out of there or IDs. But yeah, but it's always been like a neighborhood, and I think that neighborhood represents the White Sox. And yeah, you could probably add a couple more things and bring to life, but do I necessarily think that more fans are going to come because it's Wrigleyville? No, they're not. They're not.
Yeah.
I really don't know. I really don't think that. I think that for Sox fans, it's more about, the product on the field, because again, if you're going to say that, then move the stadium in Homer Glen or, Oak Lawn. If you're really going to do that. I'm saying if you're really going to do that, like you put the stadium right in the south side of Chicago.
Yeah.
I really don't think if they move the team to downtown, by the water, it's going to bring more local fans. Is it going to look sexier? Probably. It's going to look better, but I don't think it attracts fans. If you're going to do that, talking about where the White Sox fans are, bring it to Homer Glen, bring it to, bring it to this area. You'll get a lot of fans coming in and day out, just because that's where the majority of the fans live.
The Homer Glen White Sox, I think that has a good ring to it.
So you know what's funny? So I told Ozzy that you're originally from Homer Glen. So Ozzy had never lived in the South Side until 4 years ago, pre-pandemic. And he was like shocked of like how much love he got. And I was like, you literally, yeah, I'm like, you literally live now. Mayor. Yeah, I'm like, you literally live now in White Sox country. Like he had never experienced that because he'd been downtown and he had been like a little bit on the north side because of like Bucktown area. And now he's like, oh, I'm like, this is where all the White Sox fans live. Like you are in White Sox territory.
Okay, so and I think I've mentioned this story maybe to you before, Ozzy, but my sister's boyfriend's family lives in Homer Glen, and his mom works at Jewel here and there. So Ozzy goes to Jewel. Correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't he go like daily?
2-3 times a day. in any type of clothes.
All of the Jewel employees like argue like who gets to talk to Ozzy because they all want to talk to him. So they're all like paging each other, like Ozzy's in aisle 11, and they all just like flock to him. Like, yeah, he probably like who wouldn't love that? When I see her dad just anywhere, I'm also like freaking out that I just get to say hi to him. And imagine seeing him in Jewel.
Well, he loves you, but so he loves Jewel a lot, and he wears a lot of random outfits there. He'll go there like full-blown pajamas, like 7 a.m.
Oh,
like
I die to see that.
Coffee, like pajamas that he woke up with, just rolls in there with Crocs on. But again, so if you're going to talk about building a stadium like where most of the White Sox fans are at, then talk to me about like the South Side, Orland Park, Homer Glen, put it over here, rebuild Thunder where the Thunderbolts play and make it the White Sox. That's the South Side.
You're not wrong.
So from a downtown standpoint, I don't think people are going to be like, wow, we're going to go more. Maybe in the beginning just to like feel it. But I feel like the White Sox, again, I think I think when you're a White Sox fan, and you can attest to this, like you want to have that identity that you're different than other teams, and that's what makes the team special. And like I think it's super cool. So like everyone that's a true White Sox fan knows that Alyssa has been around in some type of form with the team. They know that she's grown up a Sox fan, that she appreciates the team. So like people that are involved with the team, that's being a part of the White Sox. That's
they get it.
They get it. They get it absolutely. So I think you can improve the stadium. You can make changes to it to make it more modern and bring change it up. But do I feel like you need a full blown other stadium? I don't agree with it. But again, that's just my take.
Yeah, I mean, it would be sad and devastating if abruptly that beautiful stadium was no longer. So I feel like there's so many memories there. It's so nostalgic. That would be terrible. But I think too, they probably are looking at from like a tourist perspective as well, because when people come visit Chicago, what bugs me so much is everyone's like, oh, I can't wait to go to a Cubs game. I can't wait to go to Wrigley. And I'm like, there's another team. Can you come to the White Sox game? Like, just because it's not surrounded by a million stinky bars doesn't mean that you can't come to Bridgeport and go to a baseball game. So I think for like tourist attraction, yeah, if it was in South Loop, that would bring more people in. But also if you're a baseball fan, like I went to the Oakland A's stadium. That stadium, talk about a terrible stadium. Awful. And I'm a baseball fan, so I'm going to go check out the stadium. So you kind of have those two different sets of people. And it's just like who you want to cater to.
So this is funny. So isn't it ironic though that White Sox fans never wanted tourists around the stadium? They don't want that to be their identity. Yep. They've always wanted to be a local. This is our team. This is a homie team.
Yeah.
And they'd want to be completely different. So because I feel like when White Sox fans, and now it's easier because of Twitter and social media, and like I think that a positive face, and you're one of those, like you're representing the team. When you're in social media and you're out there and you come to Chicago, you're like, oh, Alyssa, the White Sox. Because if the team's not pushing it to like, hey, come visit us, you're not going to go there. Like you go to the United Center because it's the best entertainment in pro sports indoors, hands down. And it could carry, you can say it was because of Michael or what happened after Michael, but people go there because it's like, it's going to be entertaining. So I think that's why it's so important, figures like yourself, because that might be the only in that you have into a team is the people that you're interacting with on social media and the fans, because teams have the page and they're not really telling fans like, hey, come here, other than selling tickets. So from an experience standpoint, there's very little things that I'm very like moody about when it comes to the White Sox. People that work there that are not like in leadership is one. And then the stadium is two, because I hate when they knock on the stadium, because it has had great food way before it was cool for having great food. It's easy to get to, great bathrooms, suites are amazing. You have a bar, you have the concourse, you pretty much have every experience for a stadium that's, was built in 1990. So on that end, again, entertainment's amazing. So I those are things that I kind of get more sensitive. I probably be more upset of people talking bad about the stadium or people that work there that are not in leadership than I would about them ripping a player. Hands down.
Those are great points. And I feel like I feel the same way. Like I get so offended when anyone makes fun of the White Sox stadium and anything else that, like, when they talk about if fans aren't there, I'm like, the fact that you had to take that picture and tweet that out, is that really what we're doing? Like, what satisfaction is that giving you? Those are the tweets that, I always want to respond, but I hold back. Because it's not always like that.
So Alyssa, what's coming up at the ballpark, and are there any latest attractions that people should be aware of at the ballpark? And we got a visitor. We got a visitor.
Hi, visitor. What's your name?
He's got like 9 dogs.
You do?
Yeah,
we got 3, and then we're dog sitting 2 at the moment. So
I knew I heard little paws.
Yeah, that we brought him outside.
What is your dog's name?
Oh, that one was actually one of the ones that we were babysitting or I should say dog sitting, but that was Hank. Okay. He's got a sister named Sissy that's with him, and
Cute.
my my girlfriend actually we're fostering a dog too that we got from a shelter a month ago. And
Very
she got
nice.
she got spayed today. So
Oh, big day.
she just got
big
back.
Day.
She's pretty dozed up. So
Okay, big day
a
for her.
lot's going on in the background over here on my side.
Well, we
But
already had
I'll
dog
let you get
day.
back to
We
it.
already had dog day. That is always so interesting. I mean, everyone brings their dog, and there are so many different types of dogs. There's like horses there, and then there's like miniature ones and little tutus. And I always have to do a like a dog day read, and I'm out there in the outfield, and it's the one time that I really am distracted. It's never the drunk people, it's never people getting in my shot. It's the dogs, because they're always like all around me. Then Southpaw's with me. They're going up to Southpaw. Um, Dog day is always interesting. So that already happened. You asked about what's coming up. Well, I do know on Saturday it's a day game. The first 20,000 fans get a Luis Robert Jr. bobblehead. Despite him not being in the lineup, they're going to get a bobblehead. And people love the bobblehead. So I just know on those days, I'm going to have to drive to the ballpark a little bit earlier. Let's see what else we have coming up. Greek Heritage Night. I personally love that because then we get to promote all the Greek food. I think Greek food is one of the best types of food you could eat. Boston Red Sox are coming up soon in June. Southpaw's birthday. I don't think I'll be there for that, and that's okay with me. I love Southpaw, but I can only talk mascot for so many times. And then I know June 28th is a big night. It is the Jordan Davis concert. So it's after the Rockies game, and then the concert's going to be right after. And those are always fun too, because it brings people to the game that they just want to see a country concert, but then they're also seeing a ball game. So just those are the quick ones off the top of my head. I mean, there's always so many, fun promotions that we do. But yeah, I can't believe we're wrapping up May, and there's a lot of games in June, a lot of home games in June, a lot of long home stands. So come on out. We'll
What's
get
your
you on the
favorite
big
promotion?
screen.
What's your favorite
My
promotion?
favorite one? I actually, over the years, I've really liked country music night, because they bring in a different like band every time, and they have the live music going on in the Xfinity Kids Zone. I get to wear cowboy boots. I could just switch it up. I unfortunately had to dress up as Harry Potter already this year. The things I will do for this team. The things I will do for this team.
You've dressed up a lot. So I think one of the
I know.
hardest things, and you have a very great fashion sense, is that you have to like dress it up every night. Like people.
Yeah, I go all in.
Yeah. So that's why I asked, because again, you have like the Star Wars but the country music is one of my favorite. I'm glad you didn't say Elvis night.
I was so glad you said Star Wars, because that was my favorite one that you dressed up for.
I've dressed up as Star Wars way too many times too. Someone said halfway to St. Patrick's Day. That's always a great one as well. I gotta say, I don't love halfway to Christmas for some reason. And I think because I then have to wear Christmas stuff on a hot July game, and it just not my cup of tea. And then I'm hanging out with Santa and Mrs. Claus, and they always think they're gonna like be talking with me on the mic. I'm like, oh, no, just me. Don't worry, just me talking. That's not one of my favorites. So I like more the lively ones that aren't necessarily based off of a holiday, I guess. I sound like the Grinch, don't I? I just don't like any of the holiday ones.
Hey,
no, that's okay.
I like
There's
the
nothing
music
wrong
ones.
with the Grinch.
Yeah, that'd be a fun one. A Grinch theme night. I would dress up as Cindy Lou Who. Tomorrow, Caleb Williams is throwing out the first pitch. That is accurate. And Roma Dunze. So come out to the game if you want to see.
Third round draft pick too.
Yes.
I'm gonna botch his name, but
I think Kieran.
Karen, yeah, it's a long last name. I'm gonna butcher it.
We'll
He went to Yale. Time. Yeah, he went to Yale. That's all I know. So
yeah, they always do such a great job with who throws out the first pitch. Michael Gomez is in charge of that. He works on that all off season, and of course during the season. I think Angel Reese soon will be throwing out the first pitch, and maybe some other Chicago Sky players. I met Simone Biles this year. That was cool. And she is teeny tiny.
Did you see the picture of Shota with the Chicago sky?
Yes, I did.
Felt so bad. That would have been me
so
too.
Uncomfortable. Yeah, but the first pitches, they always do so great with that. There was I don't follow Real Housewives, but one of the ladies from Real Housewives of New Jersey, her name's Marge. She was just at the stadium and people were freaking out that she was there. And I was talking to her in my Harry Potter outfit, and I'm like, you're beautiful. Like, I didn't know who she was, but she looked expensive. And I just kept complimenting her. I'm like, you're stunning. I'm like, thank you for being here. Because sometimes there's some characters at the ballpark. So what, when you see someone that just looks so rich, I'm like, that's got to be someone. And then I learned later on that is a Real Housewives of New Jersey and one of the top ones. So I was just complimenting her left and right. And I was there in my Harry Potter outfit. So that's how that goes.
I'm trying to remember. Did I forget? Is there Irish Heritage Night too?
No, I think they just looped that in with halfway to St. Patrick's Day.
Okay.
There's Mexican Heritage Night. I think that's in June or July.
Mm-hmm.
Polish Heritage Night.
Is there Italian too?
You know what? I don't see one, and that, as an Italian,
actually, I don't think it's like an official one, but I've seen a hat, so I believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they just do like a party shop for it.
Like a party. Yeah,
you know what? Wait. There is July 9th.
There.
That's exciting. Okay. There's an Italian Heritage Night. We're getting everyone in.
Before we let you go, I want to know, can we have any spoilers? Are you bringing anybody on the Listen Up
podcast?
Yep.
I did interview my co-host Ryan Lee, and we talked for so long, so I need to edit that one down. Megan Moran, who I brought up, who works for WWE, and when she co-hosted with me, I felt like chopped liver because everyone was going up to her, taking photos, selfies. And like, there's people at the ballpark that come up to me now and like take selfies and say hi and, introduce themselves or tell me they follow me on Twitter. That night, no one cared about me. It was all about Megan. So I'm like, the WWE world is insanity. So we're going to get her on. That's all I got for now. I have a list of people. I mean, I would love to get Ozzie Jr.'s dad on. If he would ever
all you
come
got to do, all you got to do is text and say, "Can you be on the show?" And he would say yes.
The thing is, I think I would just be cracking up the whole time.
Shy. Yeah, she'd probably be laughing the whole time. But yes, she's shy. So I'll get you Ozzie if you can. I want to hear a show with Alyssa,
okay,
Layla, and Sierra.
Us three.
You three.
I love that. I'm trying to get me and Layla to do a show together at the Score.
You should. I'll text Mitch right now. So they're so you guys are my favorite, obviously, but you guys are very knowledgeable about the game and all bring your own.
I mean, Layla knows so much. She does incredible.
She also keeps score when she's doing games. So
yeah, she's great.
And baseball's not even her main sport, but I think seeing you guys interact away from the microphone and the relationship that you guys have, and then being unique to a big sports town, because let's be honest, there's a lot of competition, amongst coworkers, but the relationship that you guys all have off the field and seeing you guys kind of interact when you guys are not working, I think it'd be really cool to see that, kind of that world of, how you guys have been friends and kind of like talking about the sports. I'm also a fan of all three of you guys, so that would be
that's a great idea. I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, we were all at Slav's wedding together, and
correct.
We all smoked so many cigars.
Correct.
We all had a raspy voice the next day. And I think Sierra that night was going to be on that next night or the next morning, like MLB Network. I'm like, this is when people are like, who are your role models and idols? I'm like, Sierra and Layla, because they know how to balance it all, and they are so good at their jobs.
By the way, a show cigars on you guys on the Score or anywhere together would be amazing.
Yeah, we need to do that. She has such a busy schedule. I'm all over the place, so I feel like we just need to like talk to Mitch and get a day to do it.
Mm-hmm. I just think I think it'd be really, really good because again, the knowledge, the takes. It would just be really, really cool. I think that would be a hit.
Okay, I love it. I love the idea.
Junior, you got any last questions for her at all?
No. I'm glad. Again, I'm glad. I'm very happy that she's on, and I'm happy that she's doing so well. And just thank you for having.
Thank
Again,
you.
she's the most. I don't want to say she's the most positive White Sox because I don't want to give her that title, but she is always happy and smiling, which is awesome. You need that type of attitude always around you.
Well, thank you. That doesn't mean I don't get in my car and swear and get angry, because I do get angry with this team.
Of course, but you don't show it. Which is awesome.
I get mad, but like I said, I kind of leave that at the door and leave that for, just bitching to my friends about it. You know who gets mad about the team? Rhonda Bergamini. And then I get all wild up too. So we'll chat here and there about it. She's like, how did they blow that? I'm like, your answer is as good as mine. So we got that mother-daughter relationship going on where we talk about the White Sox, our love.
By the way, you have to interview your sister too.
She doesn't want to do it. I've already asked her.
I know, but why does she? I'm so shocked that she doesn't want to do it.
I know.
So she likes being. She's the greatest woman that she doesn't want anybody to know about.
I'll get her on. Maybe after. Maybe I'll get
her sister is probably top 3 most unique characters ever. She's very funny.
She's so fun. I'm never bored with her. So she would be a great guest, but she doesn't want to do it.
We'll have to get her on here first. Give her a tester.
Get her on here. She'd love that.
Yeah,
she gets stage fright. She's like people think I would be shy to do something like what I'm doing. Where like I care what people think, but I really don't. I care like if I'm just doing a good job. Where she doesn't, she gets scared. She does stage fright. She's always like, I could never do what you're doing. I'm like, yes, you could. You're just saying that you couldn't. But yeah, she's fun. Thank you guys for having me on. I do appreciate it. We were saying next time we gotta do this when Slav's on this too, so I could talk about his lovely wedding and how it was wild.
Let's do it. We gotta do it later in the season. He's gonna be back here in June.
Okay. All right. Well,
perhaps I know KG and I were talking about maybe doing something in November, so maybe we'll have you also at the live show again, and we'll have something planned. We'll have something planned.
Yeah, and I couldn't come that Monday to your live show because it was a home game, which then got canceled.
And it was raining.
That's how that goes.
The weather, because we were trying to do it at the setting there at Little Joe's. We were trying to do it in the outdoor patio, but when me and Slav got there, we got there at like 2 p.m. that afternoon to set up for the audio, and we were looking at the radar and we're like, yeah, we're not gonna get it outdoors, so we just set up inside.
Yeah. I think that was the 3rd postponed game of the season.
Oh.
Yep.
So.
Yep. But real quick, how can our followers find you? Give a little shout out for yourself.
Well, if you're at the ballpark and you see a crazy girl running around with a microphone, that is me, and come say hi. And you could follow me on Twitter, first and last name, Alyssa Bergamini. Instagram, same name, Alyssa Bergamini. I think those are the only socials I have. What else is there out
and
there?
Don't forget about the Spotify or
and follow my podcast, Listen Up, play on words with my name, Alyssa, and give it a follow. I'm going to be more consistent about getting my guests on. But the weeks go by, you guys. The weeks go by fast and time goes away. So that is my summer homework assignment, more consistent with the podcast. So maybe if I get more subscribers, I'll be better.
We'll give you that one. But keep doing it.
How you guys doing? Sorry to drop in like this.
Hey,
Alyssa, good to see you. How you doing?
Good to see you. This is the perfect time for me to pivot out because you guys are gonna talk all the nitty gritty with White Sox. So
before you leave, I just want to say I was checking in on YouTube and you were talking about let's just say a Chicago White Sox theme night. We need to have Game of Thrones nights at the rate so I could dress up in full Targaryen robe.
You could take my job for that day then. You could dress up. I need Harry Potter this year. That's where I end it. I'm sure
Well,
down
listen.
the line that would maybe be something.
Drakaris.
Oh God. I
Alyssa,
don't even know
thanks.
those characters.
Thank you
Thank you
again.
guys.
We
I
really
appreciate it. And go
Good
White
cards, thank
Sox.
you.
I gotta
Indeed,
say go White Sox.
you have to.
All
yeah,
right.
you were
Bye,
so
guys.
gracious
Appreciate
with
it.
your time. Thank you
Mhm.
so much.
Of course. Okay, bye.
Good cards. Bye.
All right.
Gonzo,
Wow.
don't ever compare her to John ever again.
Oh, the energy. The energy. The
He
energy.
did what now?
He did.
I
He went
compared the energy. I said in these tough times,
No.
I gotta give you credit
You're the
for having
reason for
this.
the fucking tough times.
Yes, you are. You
guys,
are.
guys like me.
And guys like you. Exactly. And guys like you. You know what? The best part about that is that you're admitting it. That's
That's
amazing.
the first step. That's the first
I
step.
That's the
didn't.
first step.
I should have been better with my words. I didn't mean to compare the. I just liked
You're
their
popped.
energy in the stadium.
You're getting the email.
By the way, her again, in-game experience for the Chicago White Sox. And I've been around Tampa Bay Rays when they were bad, Montreal Expos, Miami Marlins bad in a new stadium. The in-game and again, all the stadiums you get to visit when you're out there, you don't always go to a good visiting team, but the White Sox in-game entertainment from start to finish is actually really, really good. Regardless of the talent that's on the field, it's always been top notch. And then the food, and now it's getting better because now they have always theme nights, and so from an experience standpoint, it's awesome. And she's one of the reasons on my short list of why I like the team to play really well.
Absolutely.
Because they work there, man. Like you don't want to. I always give her grief because I cannot mentally prepare myself. Because if you go and you're playing, you can hide in the clubhouse, but when you have to go there and face the fans, and she does the Bulls too. So some of the times, when those Bulls games, even though you're having fun, you're like, we're just getting destroyed.
OJ, one of my favorite things to do when I get to the raid is walk the concourse. And when you're watching Alyssa in her natural element, mingling with the fans, cutting a promo in front of the camera, that shit is amazing to me. Because not only she's doing what I want to do as a fan, but that's work. And she's dialed in. It's not like us where we're just getting on the camera shooting the shit. She's dialed in to that.
So prospect wise, Gonzo, if I always look out for a new talent, everyone knows how close I am to Mitch Rosen. So I was hounding him for a long time. And I really hope that they get a show together because they're super talented and they're all friends. Obviously we see what Sierra ended up doing with MLB, but Layla and her, we're very lucky in town to have all three of them in Chicago in this market. And I hounded her for 4 years. I could do a podcast. I don't know what you're going to do it on, but a lot of people, just to get out there and sometimes it's for people just to get to know you. And she's probably one of the most positive things of the White Sox. I wish the White Sox fans would share the good as much as they share the bad. The fact that there's people in Chicago right now that are more famous for doing negative things or what we think are negative things in that world and in that realm of the business is mind-blowing.
Well, OJ, look at me and you is a perfect example of that. Look at how many dumb White Sox fans we shit on every day, but then we'll come on the fucking podcast and be like, well, some of the fans are the best part about being, interacting with them. You got to find that balance. And I was one of those people that would love to get into the Twitter arguments, go back and forth with people. But then I had to get back to realizing that Twitter and the people is why I love this shit.
Yeah. So what about people that are
dark cloud,
in your
bro?
chat? By the way, what happened if it's not on Twitter and it's in your group chat? We got one right here. Gonzo is the epitome of the representation of White Sox fans and nutty takes. And again,
Julio Rodriguez got to retire because of you, Gonzo.
Yeah, because of Gonzo. Yeah, Gonzo thinks Julio Rodriguez is not. Yeah, he's going to retire. He's going to call it quits. No, but again, the message that I sent today about Caleb, for example, okay, the overreaction of fans, and I sent out the tweet of this is the most White Sox tweet of all times, and then Gonzo went on to trash the pitching staff of 2005 and compare it to other stuff. That's what's funny.
Hold up.
Hold on. No. We're not going to get into that debate. We're not going to get into that debate. We're not. that nuttiness is what's partially entertaining. Like, I feel like that nuttiness was not there, I think that I wouldn't be so involved on a day-by-day basis.
Bingo. That interaction.
I guess it, like, it makes me feel good. Like, it probably feels like when a guy goes to the gym and like puts up like 450. Like, it literally, like, it probably, like, everyone's like, look at it. I love shutting down White Sox fans with bad takes, and I love bringing up great takes, and I love giving kudos. I'll give you an example. I tweeted about it. Lawrence Holmes and Alyssa falls into that. Like, real people. I love Alyssa because she's real. Lawrence Holmes saying, hey, I don't think what John did is great, but I'm not really going to talk about it until I meet the guy in person. He said that on the score in a room where he was like
full of the people that's bashing him.
Because it's very easy to just jump and bash somebody while they're down. And he didn't defend him, but he respected him. And it shows me again the people in the industry that, for better or for worse, are not playing a character and are being themselves. Because that's what, me personally, I don't care how nutty you are, how bad your takes are, how dorky or wild you are. Just be yourself, and you're not playing someone to be cool or to like, oh, I want to be this person because this is what the role's supposed to be. People like Alyssa, again, Lawrence, again, Layla, those people. We got one guy on the show, Slocko. That people, I like real people. I think you guys are real, like in the sense, and all the guests that we've had that I'm a fan of is I don't think that they're playing a character. They're just having a fun time with their takes. If I think someone's going out of their way to like do something that I feel like it's being mean or trying to put someone down, that's what I'm like. I'm not a fan of this person at all, or that account. I like when people are being genuine.
And we live in a world, OJ, where people can't. They're allergic to laughing at themselves. I feel like our Twitter accounts and who we are on social media, our podcast personalities, is just the fun part of our social being. It's just who we are, the lighter side of who we are. And at a certain point, I need people to lean into that, because the only thing that we have in common is that we root for the White Sox. We were born into it, and we're not going to leave. Outside of that, we don't have any control. So why aren't we trying to find the lighter side, the humor part of it?
So it's easy saying this. So I'm going to have a joke, and Gonzo hasn't heard this one. So what happened if we start a rumor that's saying that the reason that that Jason left is because he didn't want to do another year under Pedro? You walked in and said, "Oh, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not." Because somebody asked me, like, in a wild world, what would you really want in this season? And I said, to have Hawk Harrelson teleport himself back to like a young Hawk and be able to broadcast this season, because he would be on something. It would be like just moments of like silence. He would just be very moody and probably saying things on the air he was not supposed to say. But that would be really funny. Again, all these rumors of like why he left, and they didn't like his laugh, they didn't like him eating on air, he wanted more money, he wanted this. Again, the debates that we've had back and forth. And I was like, what happened if he just didn't want to see Pedro manage anymore? Like, he was like, I've had enough, not doing this. like if he comes back, I'm going to another team. Because again, if you're broadcasting, you have to deal with the manager and the players. There's got to be nothing worse than covering a player or a team that you don't really like what you're seeing.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's your job.
Oh, correct. You always want to make your job easier, but I'm saying like that could have been, again, that could be a reason. Again, for we're always going to be speculating of why things happen. I always go down to comfort and money, because that's usually what regular human beings attest to making changes in their lives. Of like, I got more money, or it's more comfortable and it fits more of my vision. So they're also human beings, so I'm probably going to go with that route. Or somebody just didn't want you. In life, there's rejections. Some of our bosses, we've all been fired. If you haven't, you will be one day. They tell you, hey, you're not good enough, or we want to go a different route. You're not the vision. And again, someone else's, if someone else wasn't think that you're the fit, another team will, or another job will. So that's just the reality of it. Again, I think that from a positive standpoint, we had a great guest. And that's what you got to enjoy, because you got to cover, for example, somebody tweeted that who cares if the White Sox have the top minor league, one of the top minor leagues in the league, because it won't mean anything later on. Well, Of course it won't. It's not a guaranteed, but you're probably going to have a better chance of succeeding having somebody like that. Going back to the Caleb thing, like he might suck. He might. There's no guarantees in life, but you kind of want to suck with the best guy on the board, that you took the best chance on the best guy. So I feel like that's how the minor leagues are for the White Sox right now. Like you can't say, I'm not going to say they're going to win the World Series and being that nutty, but I'd rather have a team that has high prospects than somebody that sucks and doesn't have any prospects. So it's getting to the point where White Sox fans are being so negative. Like it's gone, like it's hit the tipping point of, okay, now we're borderline insane now.
Yeah,
like,
because nothing will make us happy.
Nothing will make it nothing. There'll be
nothing.
Whoever gets the next managing job, and it's because we were talking about Ozzy, and there was a lot of people like mentioning there, like selfishly, it would be amazing because obviously he comes there, but like unselfishly, like looking in reality, like whoever comes and takes the job next, it's such a like they're being so negative as a fan base that it could either be like the most amazing thing ever, or it can even be 10 times worse, where everybody's just like at the door with the pitchforks ready to bring it all down. That's where the Sox.
That's where we. But look at that's where the fan base was at when we announced that we were bringing Clevenger back. Pitchforks, khakis.
But again, but like anything, like people were saying that about Tommy Pham, that why they're bringing this old dude in. Again, any move that they make, like they'll send somebody down. Any move they make, any move that they make, they feel like very upset. Like in the past, we never cared if somebody got like sent down. I really don't. I mean, Gonzo, maybe you've been around, you've been obsessed more with minor leaguers and riding that. Like as a White Sox fan base always been that obsessed with minor leaguers coming up and down, or is this like a new trend that you've seen in the last couple of years?
I just think it's more emphasized because of the times we just went through with the first rebuild, and now we got to do it over again. So now there's more emphasis on it happening a second time. I think it's just the fact of where we're at right now, because I feel like it'd be a lot different if there was sustained success as a product on the field. We wouldn't be worrying so much about the farm system versus the big leagues. Like it wasn't like this when your dad was there, because we were having success on the field.
But how about after? So I'm talking about after. Mm-hmm. And I think people complain about the White Sox. I don't think they ever complain about, like, no one was like, why did Brian Anderson get sent down, or why did this person get called up? So that my question is more about prospect, but I'm talking about post Ozzy, like the Robin, because they told the fans they've been rebuilding for a while.
That's the thing, is after your dad left, they tried.
It's been rebuilding every single year. Like I'm just gonna kick it.
But that's the thing, is they start firing big money at free agents like Adam Dunn and whatnot after that, and then they had to hit a point where, was it 2016, where it was like their last hoorah, and then they went right into this whole 10 years almost of rebuilding, and then when they brought that first core up, Han truly, with his ego, he fully believed in it and didn't add any pieces around it, and it just collapsed.
So I think the pieces is key. Though, so my question was this, though, because you just brought that up. So do you think that the White Sox fan base, and Jay, you can answer this.
Yeah.
Looking back, everyone thought it was so bad and so miserable when they brought in Tony.
Oh, you set me up.
That the world was going to end. No, I'm like, now you looking back and looking at it, you don't have to tell us if you like them or dislike them, but I'm talking about the negativity of going into that season as a fan base. And that team won 90 plus. People were cursing out loud on social media because you lost to the Houston Astros, who had a super team.
You lost to a dynasty.
You lost to a dynasty. Regardless of the cheating or whatnot, there's going to be guys on that roster we're going to look back 25 years from now and say, man, that guy was a Hall of Famer. Like, that team was very good with a very good manager. You didn't lose to like this team who just figured it out. Like, they had a bunch of rookies and, they got hot at the right time. Kind of like when they lost to Oakland, for example.
I'm going to tell you right now.
Was nothing.
We lost to Houston because Yerman Mercedes swung in a 3-0 count in Minnesota. That's the why. That's why we lost to a dynasty. You brought in Tony La Russa to teach these guys how to play baseball, and they had enough success to where they deviated from the foundation of the grassroots of the game itself. Like, look at how cataclysmic it was for Yerman Mercedes hitting a home run on a pitch that he was supposed to take. That should not have a fracture in the clubhouse the way it is, because you shouldn't be at arms with a manager who's upset with a player that didn't follow a sign. Why are you trying to chastise a manager that is just trying to do his fucking job? Why? That's OJ. I'm not gonna lie, bro. That's when I started looking at the fan base sideways, because I could give you 300.
Well, here's the part that's interesting. The same fan base that cares about off the field stuff. What happened if Tony knew things were going on, and that's why he was riding that certain player harder?
Yes.
Okay. And then that was the
Yerman.
I'm not gonna share the reasons why they're riding him. Somebody else can do that, but there's a reason why he's not in the big leagues, and there's a reason he's not doing that. That's all I'm gonna say. There's off the field issues. You guys can go and research them yourself. I'll give you an example though, and this goes back to, like, I'm gonna loop it in to the player that I want to talk about. Okay, because there's a point where you have to look yourself in the mirror and say, am I going to play? And this is where the debate that Gonzo and I had, and why Gonzo is not allowed to debate baseball unless he's on this call until, what was it, 10 home runs, or we put a line that when Gonzo can jump back in and battle with me in baseball. Eloy Jimenez. Okay, Gonzo said that the most injury-prone guy was Moncada. We started debating, sharing back and forth, and going back. Eloy Jimenez at this point, okay, and I cannot get the facts for this because it's really hard calling somebody out and asking them, is this guy really hurt? Okay.
Damn.
Hold on. I'm being honest, man. Like, is this person, and I'm talking about like hurt where, again, in the debate on the phone, Gonzo's points with Berger, like, destroyed his Achilles. Like, I don't care who you are, you can't play. Like, you just humanly possibly cannot play. Eloy himself, like when you ripped his like boob or arm thing. I'm in defense, like it was like a legit tear, like surgery. You're going down for a while. There's been injuries that have happened in our roster that are like legit injuries that it happens. It's part of the game. Rondon, for example, arm, surgery. But these Eloy Jimenez injuries, okay, is he able to stay on the field? Or is it like anytime he feels a nagging situation, he just says, I'm hurt. And then they're like, yeah, I'm going to take 10 days off. Because at this point, the moment I think this all went downhill when I said this team has a problem was when he took himself out in the game in Oakland. Okay? When he took himself out, because I know that guys in the clubhouse had an issue with that. When he took himself out in the game in Oakland from running on second, I was like, this dude does not, because if I'm in the middle of a playoff, I'm losing a leg. Like, I'm trying to do everything to stay in there and make sure that my trainers, take care of me afterwards. But I'm doing everything possible to stay in the game. And then watching him yesterday round third base, okay, and it wasn't even like a bang play, like a breaking up like a double play or collision with he just literally like started hobbling and grabbed his leg, and then he didn't even try playing through it. He didn't even say, I'm gonna get another at bat and see how bad it is. He just left the game, and then they're like, oh, he's out, he's on the DL for 15 days, and I'm like, are you serious? Like, he's not going to try playing on it for a couple days. So at one point, again, I don't think he's a guy that should be here in the future because of that. But like, how many of these guys are like milking these injuries, or are they really, really hurt where they cannot play?
Hey, man, I can tell you right now, ex-White Sox and Toronto Blue Jay, Brett Lawrie. Eloy Jimenez does not play at Brett Lawrie's pace and speed for him to get hurt scoring on a single from second base, bro. He didn't even draw a throw at the plate, and he coming up hobbled. OJ, this man could get hurt in the on-deck circle. He could get hurt in warm-ups. Like, the game of baseball is potentially dangerous for Eloy Jimenez.
Well, and I agree. And I
Eloy,
think
I just think Eloy doesn't know how to prepare for this game
at
the pro level.
What do you mean? He's only been in the big leagues like 9 years at this point.
He ain't been prepared.
But even from the beginning, he wasn't prepared for his body to maintain at this level.
I think he won't.
We got to listen to the Don.
No, I think he won't play through pain. I'll be honest with you. I just think that.
Right. And I feel
think
like
he won't
that
have
began
any little thing.
that started though in the beginning.
Oh, correct. The babying of like, oh, I'm hurt. I'm gonna get not forcing these guys, and that's what I said with Pedro. It's a double-edged sword because I also think Pedro's very happy that he's hurt. Like you're not happy, but you're like, it's easier to make my lineup, and he knows that. Knowing Pedro and his style, I think he's a guy that's not gonna call him out. But I think the way that he is, he knows that this guy might be milking it, so he'd rather play with like hard-nosed grinders, like like guys that he knows are gonna go out there and give 120%. I know that. I think that he might be like, okay, cool, no Eloy, whatever. I'd rather watch somebody else play than watch this guy, waste his talent out there.
When you look at the lineup today, like I mean, I get what you're saying, but when I look at what Pedro just put out there without him, I'm like, what are we doing?
Well, that's Pedro Lytic, so that's
right.
Pedro Lytic. Pedro wakes up and says, "How am I going to mess up Gonzo today mentally?" He wakes up.
He's got the whole blackout going.
Hey, you know what? He's so good at it that every day he finds a way so that you go, oh hell no! Like his lineup every day when
Nicky
you wake
Lopez
up,
in the 2-hole.
Correct. Like every day is something that he does that changes something up. If it's not playing someone or moving it around, I've never seen a manager because you usually are mad about like when in the Ozzy era, oh he's playing Dunn again, oh he's playing Juan Pierre. Oh, BA, like there's players that the guys like kind of goes to. So it's like you're always complaining about the same thing. With Pedro, it's like it's something new in the lineup that somebody complains about every day. Like he does something every day.
He has to, because at a certain point, he's a manager knowing he doesn't have the talent and he's doing the best thing he can to shake it up.
Correct.
On with his fingerprints on it. And we see the product of that. A D- team.
But to go to the beginning of this conversation when you brought up Tony Jr. For me, I'm at that point where I knew it was the right decision because again, Hans said he was bringing in someone that has championship experience. So if we're going off of that approach and ideology, I've always agreed with Tony as a hire for that reason. However, and I'm not going to waste my time arguing baseball with someone that doesn't talk baseball with me and just talks about his off-field issues, talks about the baseball things that did happen on the field that were actually right for the game decision, but it wasn't perceived to be as good as it was. So I don't waste my time arguing that. But instead I go a step further. And I want to bring it back to that ideology. The true failure was, and at that moment in 2019, was going with that experience to jumpstart it instead of thinking long term and saying, "Hey, I need a mind to go the long term with this core to develop them and take off with them." That wasn't Tony. However, that wasn't your approach, your ideology. Like I just said, that wasn't your ideology. Your ideology was, I want something now. I want a guy with experience to win right now that hasn't developed with this core. And it should have been a thought process that would have took longer to come up with that right person. I don't think Han making that decision, you weren't going to get a successful product with Han choosing that.
I got a problem.
So again, it's with that GM, but also with that mindset from that GM.
So Gonzo has never said anything that I think I've agreed with more so much.
Damn.
No, because you can't. Because I completely get what he's saying, where you can't say that the guy who's won in multiple cities, who's had so much success in the past, is the wrong hire on a team that needs to win right now. Okay. But what he's saying is, what happened if they put their chips in too early in the hand and didn't think 2 or 3 years down the road and develop a manager with the team to kind of get you there? Again, I hate using Ozzy's name because, again, it goes back to that. But kind of like with Jerry Manuel and Ozzy. Like, Ozzy wasn't a big name manager when he got hired in 2004. They were thinking like, long term, like, hey, in 2 or 3 years, this guy's going to be really good. So if it wasn't Ricky, you could have brought somebody else to continue that development per se until you got there. But I think with the see me after the parade, the hype that I think the funniest thing when people talk bad about Rick, remember when he used to hold those sessions and everybody on Twitter used to go there and they cheer with him and they were all buddies and he was on everybody's podcast. I think that all was bought into of like, we need to win now. And even watching the game in the playoffs, okay, watching it live, you were like, this team is good, but I didn't feel like, wow, this is, if they beat Houston, they're going to run the table. Like, I didn't feel like that confident of like, this is a team at that level. Like when I look at the Phillies right now, okay? Even when I look at Cleveland right now, when I look at Cleveland, I said it yesterday in a Spanish show, I'd be trying to trade for like a Vladimir Guerrero Jr. or like another bat because I think that they might get in, but I don't think that they have enough firepower to like really, really go that deep in like a real postseason run. They might be good enough to get in the playoffs, but they need some development. And they've been in that situation for a while. Kansas City, the same thing. So I felt that even in that year with the World Series, the playoff, with Tony, that they were far away. Even the COVID year, where everybody was like, this is the greatest team since sliced bread. Oh my God, greatest team since 05. You're like, man, a couple things are missing in this roster. You had like, your backup wasn't developed, your backup catcher. There's a couple positions, Pantera's first year. Moncada and Eloy had short flourishes. TA was like kind of like the main guy, but you're like, he's really not built to be the main guy. So I agree with Gonzo of like, they might have put their chips in too early and played it the short term instead of like, if they would have found something a little bit longer term and gave themselves 2 more years, which have been the last 2 years right now, they might be in a situation where I'm not saying World Series, but you're competing like Kansas City for the division. You're not, 15 and 33.
People that use the term window in sports, look at the Arizona Diamondbacks, for example. The COVID White Sox are the Arizona Diamondbacks, except we didn't make it to the World Series. Look at the Diamondbacks right now in the West. You will never pencil them in to make another World Series for the next 5 years. Again, you do not foresee the White Sox after COVID winning a playoff series. Again, I know I'm talking in hindsight, but to your point, Ozzy, there was some noticeable deficiencies on the team back then, and we're still talking about it and signifying on it right now.
Well, 2005 White Sox, if they don't win that year, they don't win any other year.
Period.
And they knew that, like, the division was going to get better, and it showed it to them. They didn't make it the next year.
The division got better the very next year.
The very next year. And the team, and again, people need to get off this World Series, like, we're going to build a World Series team. You build the team, because fans in the White Sox were like, I don't want to be Minnesota. You go to the first round and get swept out. I'm like, that's consistency. So, like, if you have to be in the playoffs in order to play for the World Series, hopefully one of those years that you build a playoff team, you catch fire.
Minnesota got a formula.
Correct, but I'm saying, like, people are like, you can't sit there and say, I'm building a World Series team. It's like it's by stages. So, like, right now, Getz can't say, I'm building a World Series team. It's like, I'm building a team to get to 500, to then compete for the division, to then eventually, if we have a good enough year, I might make a move or two to get us to the next level, which is not what they did. Like, so I think that the Lance Lynn move was a year late. I think they should have made that Lance Lynn move the COVID season and bring Lance Lynn in that COVID year to have Lance Lynn be ready with them in the playoff because they were lacking.
Pitch against Oakland.
I'm saying they were lacking an experienced pitcher. And what did they do? They brought him the next year when I was like, well, it doesn't really make a difference now because you probably could have gotten more from the young kid in the long run. But those little moves, even if they're tiny or they're really big moves, you need to know when your team is good. So one of the things, for example, baseball-wise, which is a bad thing sometimes for general managers, is when you were not planning on being great, let's say the Kansas City Royals this year, and you're leading the division or you're making a pennant race, and your team expects you to make a move to really make that World Series push, but you know that you're not ready. But then the fan base and the team force you to go and make a big move for a bat. And in your heart, you know that you're not ready to make that move because you know you're playing good right now, but that team is not good enough down the road. So that's a really hard thing to decide as a GM. Are we there? And you see teams with great GM, like really good teams where they don't make that move. They're like above 500. They're only a couple games out, and you're like, everyone's like, oh, they didn't make a move. It's like, yeah, maybe the GM doesn't see it that year. They're like, okay. And what happened with Arizona is they're great. Everybody else just got better. That's the problem. Like they gave them a little window. Now people are going to spend more money. you're going to, and that's where the White Sox need to look in the mirror and say, wow, our division's getting better, because Detroit, who we thought was going to be the best team after the Guardians and the Twins, they got passed by Kansas City. Detroit's still pretty good. It's not that Detroit sucks. Kansas City just got better. Detroit's doing what we thought they were going to do forever. The other teams just got better. Same thing with the Twins and the Guardians.
Yeah, like
Detroit's bad. They're just playing better than them. So the Sox now are in a division where in the next couple of years, I'm looking at it and saying, oh man, this division is going back to what it used to be in the 2000s, where you have really
it's got a
teams.
2002 feel, don't it?
Yeah, you're not going to win it with 81 games, okay? And again, that's just his perspective, but I really liked what Gonzo said about when you're really looking at it, and I hate the word windows, and I hate the word because, again, somebody can just go in and buy a bigger house with better windows than you, and you're screwed. But it's like when you build, and they have to take all this stuff in consideration, man, when they try making moves. And I know we hate talking about prospects, but never seen the guy play except highlights, okay? I spent like about an hour looking at highlights, texted about 2-3 people asking him about him. This kid, Jacob Gonzalez, Jacobo Gonzalez, he looks pretty good. No, he looks pretty good. He looks pretty good. So 2 things I'm gonna talk about the prospects. Jacobo Gonzalez looks really good. Okay. I like what I've seen from Brian Ramos, and Colson's supposed to be better than those guys. So those 3 guys come up, and then you grab the picture that Gonzo, that we were making fun of, the people shared, the crazy White Sox fans. Well, there was in that picture, 5 pictures on there, including my guy Jairo, who I think is going to be the best one in the group. If out of those 5,
I've seen that tweet too.
No, I'm saying out of those 5, if 2 guys make it like legit what they're supposed to become, you have a pretty good, like you got a really good solid, you're building something really nice and pretty cool. Let's say you have 2 superstars and the other 3 guys are just like, bullpen guys or whatever. Like you're starting to see pieces come together where you're like, oh, okay. Like I'm seeing the return, that moves that were made a while back. You're starting to see like the kind of like the fruits of the labor are starting to come in. So
but it's all pitching.
Again, Jacobo Gonzalez. Like I wasn't expecting those guys to, Brian, Jacobo, Savala. We're gonna see again, but Gonzo, when you have enough pitching, you can always trade those guys for bats.
So all right, that photo, right? It didn't have the main guy in that photo. Noah Schultz.
The main guy? Oh God.
The main arm in that.
Is he the main guy because
you just started agreeing with the main guy?
You started another argument. Is he the main guy because he went to Oswego East?
No.
Just be honest. Again,
be honest.
It's okay. I'm biased because the Venezuelan kid. I'm biased. I'm saying it. I just tweeted that they should trade for Oswald Peraza, and they're both Venezuelan. All you got to do is Google it. So I'm betting on Iriarte Jairo. In my opinion, he's going to be the best guy in the group just because of what he's done in the minor leagues. It does help that he's Venezuelan and he pitches for Tiburones. So I'm being biased about that. So you just went out. There's 5 dudes on that picture that when you look at their numbers in the minor leagues, none of them suck.
And there's actually 2 guys not in that photo that I think will be in that group coming up. One of them is Noah Schultz, he's your second prospect right behind Montgomery. And the other guy, the second guy, is Grant Taylor. He'll be there. But no, as far as your top 5 right now, it goes Colson, Noah, Drew Throat, Edgar Cuero, Brian Ramos. Those are your top 5 at the moment.
And that's pretty good. One's a catcher. One's a
Jacob is 7th. Jairo is 9th.
I just like Jacob because he doesn't have the hype. Colson's like.
So if you remember back in March when
he's the first rounder, by the way.
I think it was it was this last draft.
Jacobo, by the way, not drafted by your people, not drafted by your uncle Rick Hahn. Not drafted by Rick.
Hold up, Junior. February, White Sox, they tweeted from their main account Jacob Gonzalez's minor league stats
people got mad.
From like 10 games last year when they brought him up to the pro level, and they were bad, but the perception of it was this is the future. Like, he's coming. It's not to look at that bullshit 10-game stat line. It's, hey, he's coming. Right.
Yeah,
he's going to be a part. Right. But people forget about that draft pick. And then they took it down because of all the bad perception, because everyone's looking at that stat line in those 10 games.
Again, negativity.
Right. But now we're at this moment where, oh shit, he's actually, starting to pick it up at high A, and they promoted him up to Double A. But my main starter for this part of this topic is finally, because me and you, Junior, were always, since we drafted this kid, we're like, why, you, Junior, you would tell me, if he's this good, why isn't he at the big league level?
And he finally moved up.
And he's fine. They're finally, putting him onto the career path that he deserves to be on, and finally get him. And the main part of this is you're getting him with the group of guys at Double A right now, and they're learning to win right now, and execute off of each other, bringing that winning competition. I think that's huge, and I'm glad to finally see that the people that gets that put into place to try to make this development happen, we need to see it in these steps, and I'm glad to see right now that they're together. And I don't know, I mean, it's 2024 and he's in Double A, so does that mean
skip Triple A, skip Triple A, skip Triple A? All those guys need to be on the big league roster next year.
Because I was looking at,
you know why Ozzie Guillen will be the manager ever? Because that's the first thing he's going to say when he goes in there and says, I'm not going to play with guys that are 103 years old. Like, if we're here to rebuild and make something better, I'm going with the kids, because I'm going to teach them how to play in the big league level and win at the big league level and struggle at the big league level. If Noah Schultz pitches this year in Double A and does good, he should be in a straight path to big league, because you have bullets in your arm. And all those guys that succeed in Double A, help them come up here. We already know that you literally are 14 and 33. So if you're going to be 14 and 33, I'd rather have 14 and 33 with guys that I'm like, man, you look at the Detroit Tigers team that lost 100 and whatever games with Alan Trammell as a manager. Okay. Horrible at the time. Go look at that roster, how many guys were on the team after when they got good again. Verlander, like they had guys that were pitching, that were developing at the big league level. I'll take losses all day long as a fan, and if I'm the fan of the team, with prospects that are going to come out. Absolutely, because it's not the same from a guy that's 33 years old that has been bouncing from team to team, getting lit up as a big league pitcher, than you do a kid that's learning how to pitch at the big league level. I'm not judging you the same. So I'm not judging Brad Keller the same as I'm judging Nastrini, for example. Like, Brad Keller's been around the block for a couple of times. Nastrini is trying to figure it out. So I think that at the big league level, for you to have impact, you need to develop at the big league level at least 2 to 3 years before you really, really start to figure it out. And that makes the window, again, if we're going to go to windows, a lot smaller. So I really hope that that's the plan. Like, say, hey, bring those guys up, because Triple A is purgatory. Everybody in Triple A thinks they should be in the big leagues. Double A is very good pitching in Double A. I think you can make the jump. I don't really see you have to go through Triple A.
For whatever reason, though, for like our farm system with Charlotte, I agree with you on the pitching side of it. I believe pitchers should go from, at least in our system, because Charlotte's a boombox. So I feel
you're not going to learn anything
there. Your
Yeah.
pitchers should go from high A to Double A, from the Double A to the show. But for the hitters, I'd rather see them go from Double A to Triple A, get a couple, months at Triple A, and then make it.
What's the difference between you struggling in Triple A and you struggling in the big leagues, other than you losing time in arbitration and teams losing control of you in your years in the big leagues? What's the difference? What's the difference?
Especially when they changed the what do you call it, the negotiations, the CBA, when they just changed it last year, so it favors the players now. However,
Correct.
teams are still going against it.
Correct, but what is the difference if a player struggles in AAA or in the big leagues, other than the fact, I'm talking about a non-competitive team, which, again, I'm not being mean, but the White Sox are a non-competitive team. the way they're lining up for next year, they're probably not going to be a non-competitive team again. What is the difference between you hitting 220 in Charlotte or you hitting 220 in the big leagues? Other than the team losing a year of control in the future, but how much more are you learning at the big league level against big league pitching than you practicing at AAA and running again into the Lenny Sosa problem of the world, where we know that Lenny Sosa will do that. Andrew Vaughn will go to AAA and make it look like it's child. He'll destroy it because he's developing at the big leagues. That's the best thing Andrew Vaughn's done, the fact that he's literally developed at the big league level. He's never used the minor league system. He literally just, like, same thing with Pantera. Like, they went right through it. So I really hope that they don't waste guys down there because of control. Like, oh, we're gonna get one more year of control. Like, who cares? Like, bring them up, and if your window's not good or whatever, you move them. Like, there's nothing for you to be learning in AAA. Sorry.
I'm old school, so I believe the only way to develop a Major League Baseball player is through high leverage. I want to talk about Nick Nastrini's second inning, right?
Can I pause you real quick before we get to Nastrini? Real quick. To end the topic with the minor league promotions, the ETA right now for Schultz and Gonzalez is in 2026 at the moment. That's where.
Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me?
That's
you
the
interrupt what I'm
estimation.
saying to give me the ETA on guys where we're not going to see for the next 2 years.
Just
when
to wrap
we're
up
talking about the development, and I'm sitting here trying to tell you that high leverage is how you develop these players. Because Nick Nastrini gave you the same outing that got him sent down against the Phillies, the same exact fucking outing, Gonzo.
No, but before you go on Nastrini, I just wanted to wrap that up.
So I'm doing the math. So
go ahead, Nastrini.
I'm gonna kill myself.
I'm saying no. So let's say they do come up into 2026. Okay.
Yeah.
And let's be positive and say
I'm really gonna kill myself.
They break the year from 20.
I need a drink. I'll be back.
That means that 27, 20. That means that by 29, they're going to be at year 3 in 29. Okay. Why not speed up that process and bring them up, and then you'll have them in the big leagues at 28, or see what they can do 27 and 28. Like, why set a year back unless you're thinking and you're banking that they're going to develop to big league stardom in the first 2 years? How many guys do that in the big leagues? Chris Sale, maybe? Like that level of a player. When was the last time a White Sox offensive player came in and in the first 2 years hit the way that they were supposed to hit? Abreu, maybe TA, Moncada, maybe. I know TA, maybe. TA's first and second year probably pretty good. Abreu, but it hasn't happened lately.
I don't know what your thoughts are, what I said about the pitching and the hitting divide of that, but when I look at those ETAs, I feel like that is about right for Jacob Gonzalez on the hitting side of it.
He just got drafted in 23. It shouldn't be for Colson or anybody else, or Schultz or any of those guys.
So
Jacob Gonzalez is in the back of that group. He just got drafted last year.
Yeah. So when you look at that, though, Schultz, obviously, if he excels at AA this season, I could honestly see him coming out of spring training in 2025, taking a shot at that rotation.
If Noah Schultz pitches well, and the season ends for the minor leagues, bring his butt up here to the big leagues.
Right.
What do you guys think that Chris Sale, it was so easy for Chris Sale to be in the big leagues? Ozzie saw Chris Sale pitch the day after they drafted him and said, this guy, why are we sending this guy to the minor leagues? Those were his comments. Why are we sending this guy to the minor leagues? He's the best lefty that we have right now on this team. We just drafted him. Oh, you can't do that. The kid, maturity, pressure. And every day he would go and him and Kenny would be like, we should do it. You think they would debate if it was too risky, him, Cooper, because they knew that this guy had the stuff, because it was big league stuff. And it was at the time it was like, is he going to close? Which Ozzie says that was his biggest mistake ever, was thinking Chris would not be able to be a starter and break down because of his delivery and whatnot. And he proved everybody wrong on that, because Ozzie loved him as a closer, just because of what he could do. But and the way that he fit in that team. But if Noah Schultz is going down there and he's healthy and he's throwing the ball well, bring him up. Bring him up. He's not going to be the first guy missing bats and being young. Bring him up. You might get a phenom out of him. And
look at. I just want to say, look at what Cincinnati found in Andrew Abbott last year. A shot in the dark, bringing him up. What does this kid got now? Mind you, it's been a little bit of rocky. It's been hard for Andrew to get some quality starts. But when you watch him toe the slab, that's a major league pitcher right there. That is a guy that you can fucking win with. Like 7. What's the difference between what Andrew Abbott's doing at his age and what Jordan Montgomery is doing at his age? It's the same production as a veteran pitcher, and you're losing because you want to control his service time. No. I'm pretty sure. And you know what? There's 2 people on this show that fucking agreed with Gonzo tonight. It might be a day to play the lottery, OJ. If Noah Schultz can give the minor league, if he can just keep putting up zeros, there's no reason why he's not coming out in spring training in 2025.
But here's the thing: even if he's missing bats, even if somebody, this belief that guys are gonna come to the big leagues and have a Pedro Martinez 1999 season is not gonna happen. You're gonna have
Fernando Valenzuela type.
I'm just saying, you're gonna have bad starts. There's a Venezuelan right now in Philadelphia that they can't get a hit off of. That doesn't mean it's always gonna be that way. Somebody tweeted the other day about Cease. Oh, Cease got destroyed by this team. I'm like, yeah, he's not going to be lights out every single game. Like, that's why there's one Cy Young. Like, Clevenger, oh, he sucked. Like, you're going to have one good start, one start that you struggle, one start that you win and you look horrible, one start that you look amazing and you're not going to get the win. Like, the wheel hasn't been reinvented. So if Noah Schultz, and this is the moment where analytics, this is a moment for all the nerds where I like analytics. Because if Noah Schultz is in AA and all the metrics are measuring to where you think compared to big league level, his spin rate, his velo, his makeup could survive in the big leagues, this is where you can not only use the eye test, but you have the numbers to back you up and say, hey, we're just going to give him some confidence, more of maybe of like a maturity level of, maybe how to learn how to the stamina and pitch to, guys who are a little bit more advanced. But if he develops well, he's going into spring training, again, in my opinion, fighting for a spot. That's just the way that I see it with pitchers especially. Because I really think that from the pitching side, you can have a lot of success, especially if you're missing bats, early on in your career and your age than hitters. Like I usually see guys come up and dominate at a younger age, pitching-wise, than you do hitting-wise. But again, if you're a hitter and you're hitting well and there's nobody blocking you, let's say, for example, at Andrew Vaughn, where you're still kind of like hoping that he takes off and do well, if there's no one blocking you, bring him up. The problem we have in right field right now, why is Oscar Cola? Who's blocking Oscar Colas? Like, you need to see, if there's no one blocking you, you need to bring that person up and say, okay, man, let's see what you got. Because this whole, we're trying to win baseball games, it's like you're lying to yourself. Like, you're probably going to lose 100 games.
Bro, let's go back to Pedro's quote. I'm not going to sacrifice winning games or playing the young guys.
Today I promised myself that I wouldn't talk about him just because. Yeah.
Well, guess what?
No, I'm saying you just spend so much time on him that's like you don't figure it out. But I agree with Gonzo. Like, no, because what we don't want is these guys, the same thing that happened where you have these great minor league prospects and then you don't develop them well at the big leagues. Like, there's a jump. Like, you don't just develop like minor leagues, then big leagues. Like, minor leagues, first couple years in the big leagues. And we're seeing, again, to Andrew Vaughn's credit, the only reason that I believe that I give him the benefit of the doubt is because he's developed at the big leagues. He didn't spend 7 years in the minor leagues trying to hone his hitting craft. This guy's up here, struggling versus Beaver and McKenzie and, the Kuballs, the pitchers of Major League Baseball, Major League Baseball scouting, Major League Baseball stadiums. That's a little different story than spending, 6 years in the minor leagues, honing your skills. Like, I respect the minor, right to the big leagues. Let's grind it out. That's a good 250 in your first 4 or 5 years in the big leagues.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Schultz, I want to see them aggressive. I think it's
just
reasonable.
Want to talk about fucking Nastrini start today.
I think it's reasonable to get to Schultz in September for those call-ups. I think it's very justified to do so. But real quick before I get to Nastrini, because I know me and Justin are going to go
God
at it
fucking damn it.
with Nastrini. I want to bounce back at Jairo because I don't think he's the best. I know Junior said he might be biased, but I do have Jairo top 3 out of this group coming up. And honestly, when the trade happened and shortly after, I didn't think Jairo was going to be a rotation guy. I thought he was going to be a guy in the pen.
By the way, he still might be. So depends on how depending on how these prospects develop. So let's say all like
for me,
5, Thorpe and those guys develop really well. Jairo might have to go to the bullpen because if he's not better than them. But I think that Jairo's always been underrated, never been ranked, and he just keeps pitching, surprising people.
Yeah, especially after that last outing, he went 6, struck out 13. He's starting to pick it up.
Hey, why are you making that face, OJ?
Because if his name was Mark, if his name wasn't Jairo Uriarte, and he would have gone to University of Vanderbilt, they would have been like, "Oh, he's the greatest pitcher since sliced bread."
Oh my God!
He's a Dominican Summer League guy, Venezuelan. They probably gave him like $2,000. Go get him. And by the way, we didn't draft him, just like we didn't sign him, just like Dylan Cease. So that's something that I like. Is another team like them before the Sox did. So again, I believe in the guy because he's not a hyped guy. College baseball. He went to this school. He's been pitching pro ball now since the age of 16. And his numbers, again, those rankings and all that, his numbers, when you look at strikeout rate to innings pitched, he's always succeeded at every level that he's in. He hasn't struggled at any level that he's pitched at.
So I go Schultz, Thrope, Jairo. Those are my top 3. Justin.
By the way, Justin, just to make Gonzo cry real quick. Where was Noah Schultz pitching 2 years ago?
What, Arizona?
Oswego East?
Oswego East, where guys were using metal bats, and I was umpiring games. Where was Jairo pitching? Professional baseball.
Exactly.
That's the difference.
Damn. For $2,000, Gonzo.
I'm just saying, though. People are like, "Oh, you're playing." I go to Oswego East and do games. This guy would have been playing pro ball. This guy's been playing pro ball. Signed as a professional baseball player when he was a sophomore in high school. So JV is usually where you play in the United States. Yeah, so Noah is young for an American. Noah is young, but again, and he's developing great. There's a lot of guys there that you look at the age, they have 100 innings in college. That's not pro ball.
Clearly, there's a different prospect career path in there. Each side of it needs to be respected. I think the international side of it needs to be highlighted a little bit more because there's a lot that goes into that career path that clearly, Junior, about. But I think to compare those two, it's tough to do so just because of the different career paths.
But I love the fact that Noah Schultz did not go to college. That tells me a lot about him. And I don't even know the kid. Never met him. He didn't go to school in Florida. Didn't go to school in California. The fact that he went from Oswego East to go play professional baseball tells me a lot about himself and his confidence. So again, he knows if he is ready to pitch and he pitches well in the big leagues, bring him up. Yeah. And I'm okay with Noah Schultz being number 1 prospect wise. He should be. He was, he's a high school. Again, when we're talking about ranking and comparing, I'm gonna give Noah Schultz.
I'm gonna kill myself.
I'm just saying, I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt because he's a high school drafted pitcher compared to a guy that spent 4 or 5 years in college.
Dude.
And maybe I'm biased because I like the southpaw.
Oh, that helps. No. That helps him and his angle. And again, yeah, he's not your typical. Can I say something really?
I hate you guys.
I think Cease is the only.
He looks like a Sale. He looks like a Chris Sale type of like pitcher.
Oh, I hate you guys.
And then these are like Thorpe looks like a Sean what was his name? No, Lance Broadway.
I was gonna say I think Cease is the only righty that has come up through the Sox that I loved.
Even though he's like a pretty boy throwing, Cease got a little pretty boy wind up. Like he's got the pretty boy the perfect hand break. I agree with that. Schultz just looks like a guy. Again, why I feel that if he does well in Double-A, he looks uncomfortable enough that even if you don't bring him up as a starter, the first couple years, you bring him out of the pen to kind of give his feet wet. You know, if you don't want to, because he's got that, you know, that electrifying like type of pitching. That's the type of pitcher he is trying to make him be. That's what they're looking at in the future.
Justin, the White Sox today not only brought up LaRoche and put Eloy in the IL,
Deloach.
they brought up
Deloach.
Deloach. Thank you. They also brought up Nick Nastrini, finally, from Charlotte. Gave him the third start to his career. And also, Justin, before the game, I'm sorry, Junior, but I need to bring it up because it's relevant. Pedro Grifol went against his word. Originally, he went off on Nastrini in his start in Philly, but today in the pregame was giving him very high praise for that performance in Philadelphia with that. What was the word he used? I think it was keeping himself in the moment and battling through that start in Philly in a tough environment, which is something that we actually brought up live on that show right after that, talking about that tough environment in Philly to pitch in that for your second start. So, Justin, take it away, boss. Let me know your thoughts on what we just saw today from Nastrini.
A piss poor performance by Nick Nastrini. And he's going to make the Brian Bannister lab look pretty bad. There was no difference from when he got sent back down in Philadelphia till this afternoon up north. Dalton Varsho, David Schneider, both are on my fantasy team, and they respectively made him pay for falling behind hitters. The Toronto Blue Jays are not making the playoffs, and they are not a top 5 offensive team in the American League. Nick Nastrini fell behind them any chance he got, every inning he pitched. So I want to give Pedro Grifol credit for leaving him in the game after that disastrous 7-run second inning, because that at least showed me that you are in tune with his development and you are biting the bullet and saying, okay, kid, I'm just going to, let you leave on a good note. I'm not going to let you leave with a 7-run taste in your mouth. But Gonzo, what I just said earlier, why are you falling behind the Toronto Blue Jays? Why are you falling behind guys that are not Bo Bichette and Vladimir Guerrero? Why is it hard for you to pitch to David Schneider and Dalton Varsho? Why aren't you trying to get ahead of these guys? You're literally spinning the baseball off the corner of the plate.
So, why are we getting away from this? The mix-up that he had in his first outing. Why are we getting away from that?
It could be catcher, or the game calling, or the team's trying to get too cute. So,
yes.
You need to. So one thing about the big leagues that's a little bit different than the minor leagues. You're in the minor leagues. That's why when guys from the big leagues go down in the minor leagues for rehab, they get lit every single time. Because guys in the minor leagues, they're not waiting around to hit on certain counts or look for a pitch. They see ball, they hit ball.
Every count is a 3-1.
Every count you're buying, except like AAA, the more veteran guys. But like AA is like see ball, hit ball. It's like just a swing fest, and it's fine. In the big leagues, guys have better approaches, so you can use that first pitch as a strike to kind of leverage it up. And guys are very okay with hitting with 1 strike, even with 2 strikes. So getting behind on the count because you're opening up. Ozzy brought it up today in the show. When you're opening up with a breaking ball, it's like, okay, dude, establish the zone, establish the pitches. And I like the fact that they fixed that in the middle of the game for him, where they let him kind of work it on himself. This is the part where Katz is key, and the assistant pitching coach, and them going into his bullpen day and having these conversations. This is where Martin Maldonado's expertise needs to come in and say, hey, man, this is what you do to succeed at this moment. The next start is, even if he gets lit, the first thing that he needs to dominate is don't get behind on guys. And those are the building blocks that you make moving forward, of saying, hey, if they take you deep because you try to get a
Daniel Vogelback, George Springer, who's hitting under 200, and you're falling behind him of all people. Come on, bro. We can't win like that. You can't win like that. Especially, I had Gonzo, bro, this man. Okay, and I don't want to put all of this on Nick Nastrini, but you're the pitcher. Why aren't you trying to throw strikes? Why?
That's where I disagree, because when I was watching it, all right, there's two things that you can't do. You can't allow free bases, right? Which is something that he did a lot in this outing, 6 walks. But it wasn't he was getting behind. He was getting ahead. He just couldn't finish at bats when he's ahead. Because if you look at that first inning, those first 2 batters, he got ahead. And then that second batter walked. So it went pop up, walk, ground out. And then going into that second inning, it's the same thing. He's getting ahead, but he's either losing batters or he's not putting them away.
Yeah, but that's telling me if you're ahead of guys and they ended up as walks, there are a lot more non-competitive pitches in the sequence than it is competitive. Because a hitter can get himself out. A team like the fucking Toronto Blue Jays, they get themselves out more times than not. The only way you lose leverage in that situation is if you stop throwing strikes like Nick Nastrini did this afternoon.
Yeah, but those walks came later in the third inning, most of them.
Come on, bro.
So, no, really, if you look at the breakdown.
But Gonzo, falling behind hitters, you can get burned falling behind guys without walking them. He was behind the whole fucking start. He was a victim.
If you're looking at the sequence, he was
I'm
getting ahead.
Hold on. Can you let me talk?
I got it right here.
Can you let me talk?
Sure,
because you sat up fucking here and you tried to allude to me to Nick Nastrini and you said all this bullshit about Noah Schultz development. Here, let me tell you, I watched the fucking game from the first pitch to his last pitch. There were non-competitive pitches. The Blue Jays weren't battling. He were bailing them out every chance that he got. With Nick Nastrini's stuff, he stopped pounding the zone. He started nibbling once he got deeper into the count. Why?
So I put it on not only himself for executing pitches that he's ahead, but also the pitch sequence, which is what Junior was alluding to as well with Maldonado. Because there's a lot of follow-up changeups back to back. It was pretty predictable going through that outing. However, when you go later into that second inning, he started throwing the slider a couple of times, and that was getting him to finish those innings. Or the second inning helped him finish, and then the third inning, a couple of times he went to the slider curve, and I don't know why that mix wasn't happening earlier in that second inning.
How can you mix in more pitches when you don't have command? He didn't have command of his pitches. So how can I? And if okay, let's just say it's a 2-1 count. I got a slider lower outer third, and it breaks off the plate. The count is 3-1. How can I work my curveball into a situation like that if I don't have the feel for the breaking ball in totality? The man threw damn near 80 pitches and gave up 7 earned runs, Gonzo.
I'm telling you, that's what I'm telling you, though, is a lot of those at-bats, the count was favoring him, but he started nibbling. He couldn't execute to put those batters, get them out, especially with the sequence of fastball, changeup.
But you got to pitch.
It's becoming predictable. There were several of those changeups that were actually executed well, but the contact put it, in holes, and it was just getting out of hand between the lack of execution and the
I want to let people know right now, I love the Chicago White Sox, because this conversation right now, they think I hate my team.
No, but again, it's frustrating when you watch that development and something that's not as, you want this to be favorable for a kid that you're developing. And when you're not, when you see an outcome like this, where you would think okay, Toronto on the road, that should be an okay start. You should be doing a whole lot better than what the outcome was of giving up 7 or 9 or whatever in 3 innings. It's just a horrible you had a really horrible second inning, and the game got away. But when you break down the sequence, for me, it was tougher to bear watching it because I can understand how it was unraveling. You got anything, Junior?
I just think that, again, from a development standpoint, obviously hope that everything goes perfect. But when you look at guys, again, it's his third start in the big leagues, and you look at the type of damage that that they had on him, it in general, you're gonna have guys struggle with. And again, going back to, I think that you should develop at the big league level, because in the minor leagues he would have been able to get away with what he was getting away with, and you won't in the big leagues. We saw Dylan Cease not be able to pass the fourth inning, the fifth inning till like 3 years ago.
We saw Dylan Cease get milked by the fucking Reds the other day.
Correct. But so because you think that you are, sometimes that your pitches are just going to land there and you start nitpicking. That development of pitching in the different leagues, I think, happens at the big league level. So I like how Pedro handled it, of kind of like letting him go out there and like survive and let him, kind of do it on his own. But, I think it was like Cease's versus Anaheim, where he gave up 5 runs, 5 earned in 5 innings in his first year. Again, there's multiple ones that he gave up 5 runs and 7 hits in 5 innings versus the Twins in his first year. So you're going to have starts where again, developing at the big league level. And that's when people look at the years and they say, oh, this guy's ready for the big leagues. It's like, oh, really? Are they? Being ready for the big leagues does not mean putting on a uniform and pitching in the big leagues. It's going to take for some time for you to figure it out at that level. Only a very few can come in and just have automatic success on a consistent basis. So Nastrini, you keep sending him out there, sending him, doing his thing. And this is when we'll see how good Ethan Katz is and how much Ethan Katz can work with him and develop himself a big league pitcher that's going to be in the rotation next year. This is where all those coaches and everybody, is important.
And not to mention, what I like the most out of that, his debut was mixing the eye level to go with mixing up the off-speed sequence. I didn't see enough of that, hardly any of that today. Didn't see it nearly enough for this outing to go as poorly as it did. It was due to that nibbling and not changing the eye level of the hitter with your off-speed. So, boys, we got a schedule coming up here. We're coming home for 2 series.
What you got?
First series Thursday through Sunday. That's going to go Clevenger versus Rodriguez. Rodriguez is coming back from injury. On Thursday's matchup, Friday Flexen versus Corbin Burns. Saturday's Fetty versus Kramer, which it might be the White Sox best outcome at a victory that day.
Why?
And then Sunday is Crochet versus Bradish. And to highlight Justin's boy, Henderson, batting .266, 16 home runs, 35 ribbies. Kid is raking.
Really?
But yeah, I think they're going to get swept at home.
I don't think so.
They're going to get swept in a 4-game series?
Yeah.
I don't think so. And I'm going to tell you why. Number 1, Baltimore doesn't have a closer. Number 2, who
they don't need one.
Who do we got going Friday?
Flexen.
Fuck. Because our best bet to beat the Orioles is Corbin Burns right now.
No, the Bradish one too.
No, I mean Bradish just coming off the IL. We don't know how well he's gonna throw the ball, like in totality. Kramer is missing a lot of bats right now. Like he gave up a shit ton of runs, but the last time he pitched, he had 10 Ks. He doesn't really do that. I think we could put some shit together against Corbin Burns and we could shock the system Friday. I do think we're losing 3, but I don't think we're losing the Corbin Burns game. He is the one that could be had.
Okay.
And it's just shocking because he's the ace. And I feel like a fucking lunatic saying this, but I really believe that the White Sox can win Friday.
I just feel like how I think today was a huge turn of that momentum because you had a tied series going into today and you just got deflated. And you can see it on Fam's face that last out of the game. He was slamming his shit in the dugout. That is your hype guy. That is the guy that has been raking at the plate. And to see the veteran presence doing that kind of, hopefully things change on the ride home from Toronto, but I think that they're in a tough spot coming at home. What do you say, Junior? What's your thoughts of that?
They lost 3 in a row. They're 4-6.
Mhm.
Baltimore Orioles. They're gonna split the series versus the White Sox.
You think they're split 2-2?
I do.
Wow. Okay.
I do. I also think Baltimore going nowhere, but that's just me.
Wow. You think the Yankees win the division?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Yankees win. The Yankees. And even if they don't win the division, I think they got them in the playoffs. I just think Baltimore, again, my personal opinion.
Why are you surprised, Gonzo?
Surprised at the series prediction or the Orioles in general?
Why are you surprised that the Orioles not winning the East?
I got them winning the East.
Okay, so I'm just gonna say it one more fucking time.
Yeah.
Why aren't you surprised that the Orioles are not winning the East?
No, I'm telling you, they're going to win the East. I'm telling you, they're going to win the East. So.
Did I win pick to click this week?
No, you didn't.
Fuck.
But so the second series.
I think they're going to win because I like Crochet and Fetty are going to go pitch against them. Yeah. And they're coming off of they're pitching pretty consistent. And then you got the Clevenger. So I think that pitching wise, if they can keep the games close, that anything can happen. So I like the fact that those two guys are going against them to split the series. And I think Baltimore's not playing well. They just lost 3 in a row. They're 4-6. So this could be a place where Baltimore uses the weaker team and just sweeps them and gets back on top in the East. Or it's one of those moments where you're against the ropes and the White Sox are playing spoiler. Again, that can always be changed by Pedro doing something crazy. So, you know.
For me.
Yeah, correct. Like you don't know what he's gonna do. Like, we could have, we could be winning a game and him just pull up Pedrolytics. But I think that the way that this stuff is flowing, they could go 2-2.
I mean, if we had the momentum, we did beating Cleveland. If we had the momentum, we did beating Cleveland at home instead of
I don't think the Sox have momentum at all. They don't have momentum. They don't know what that is.
I know, but I'm saying though, I feel like I'd feel a lot
we
better.
We don't have momentum. We have less momentum.
I feel a whole lot better with your prediction if they actually won a series, coming off of winning a series versus losing a series on the road, facing a better team in Baltimore.
And I like the fact that they're playing at home.
Okay. I just see it. This is the series Baltimore gets right.
What? You talking about get right.
This is it, boy. Every team's going to use us as a series to get right.
You know what, Gonzo? I got Adley in a couple fucking leagues. Why don't you just go ahead and say one of them midget prayers and then get Adley back on with them?
But, Junior, I like your talk of the AL East because just in general, that trade deadline, that's going to be a battle between Baltimore
Red Sox
and
the
New York Yankees.
At the Trop. I just want to let y'all know that.
And we don't care about the Red Sox right now.
Yes,
we're talking about the second series coming up. We're talking about the second series. Toronto's coming from Toronto.
That's Manny Ramirez in the ALCS 2004 against the Angels. It's a walk-off.
Toronto's coming to town Monday through Wednesday. Nastrini is going to get his second shot at home versus the Blue Jays, versus Bassett. Tuesday, Clevenger versus Gosman. Wednesday, Flexen versus Manoah. Vlad Guerrero is batting 279, 374, 385. His slash line, it's a decent slash. Yeah, boys, I think I'm going to take one of three. White Sox take one of three. I think they win the last game at home. So I have them going 1-6. I'll let you two.
They either split this series or they're going to lose It's 4. They're gonna lose 7 in a row if they don't split against the Orioles.
I got them going 1-6 too. We're gonna get the shit beat out of us by Toronto. We're gonna get clobbered. We're literally gonna get clobbered. As I mentioned before, Dalton Varsho, Davis Schneider, those are the guys that set the table for the Toronto Blue Jays. The last year and a half, Toronto has been led by their role players. Bo Bichette, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has taken a step back. I wanna talk to people about what's gonna take place because Toronto is in I'm not gonna say a resurgence. It's more like a rebranding to where the dirt bags and the players that do the little things are the focal point. Like I said, David Schneider, Dalton Varsho, Danny Jansen, those are the guys that are going to beat our fucking brains in. And we're going to sit up on this podcast and we're going to open up Griffall Grounds just like we did last year. Remember Gonzo with Eric when we had the Blue Jays on it and I called Danny Jansen's 3-run homer and ping pop poop? Here we go. History is going to repeat itself. That series, bro.
It could happen again. The Yankees are the best team in Major League Baseball. One game in the American League. The Cleveland Guardians are a half game out of looking at like the whole American League. Then Kansas City, then Baltimore. So Toronto's minus 38 runs, and Toronto right now in run differential. Again, that's why I think if they play a good series against the Orioles, they're going to play spoiler. And that record by the Blue Jays, we're at 22-26. It's just going to get worse so they can be trade deadline guys. So I think that the White Sox are either going to let the Blue Jays get back in this race or completely just let them take them completely out. So
the Blue Jays will be above 500 by the end of our series, and the White Sox will be the Chicago White Sox.
Keep the receipts.
I am.
No, I'm saying you can't. I'm not arguing in a bad way. Like that's the type of mentality teams have to come in and saying, "Wow, we get a breath of fresh air." And the White Sox need to have that mentality of playing spoilers. I said that the beats up on the White Sox is going to be the American League Central champions. The Toronto Blue Jays need it. They're 4 games under 500. They're trying to get back in that mix because when you look at the wild card race, again, they're only 3.5 games out. And when you look at that wildcard race, Houston's 4.5.
Yeah.
After that, it's like Anaheim, Oakland, and then the White Sox. So that Toronto's in that group of we're still in it or we're completely out of it. So in this series, we're going to tell you that. So that's going to be key.
And to wrap this up, we got picks to click to go over. I got 2 wins out of Crochet last week. I'm on a roll.
I don't low key Gonzo. When you be picking pitchers for pick to click, I want to call corporate because it's unfair. You always pick the pitchers that got 2 starts in the week. That way, if they get 1 win, 9 times out of 10, the offensive guy that we pick is going to shit the bed. It's a foolproof system, and I'm tired of it.
Well, to be honest, though, you look at the picks.
No, I can't read. Guess what?
And guess what? I picked last week, so anyone could have chosen Crochet in front of me.
And, I'm not picking no lefty.
Should I say Crotchet?
No one in the right mind would have picked him to win 2 games in this series.
He was so disgusting yesterday. Absolutely.
You guys, unfortunately, I felt bad. I felt bad for Junior because he picked the guy that went in the IL, my boy Ramos. So I did,
and I felt a little guilty. I think he would have had a good series, but he went on the IL, so I was out.
You put the El Chivo on him.
Oh, I didn't put anything on anybody. That's just the White Sox are. They're just that team.
So Crochet's off the board. I'm gonna go with Tommy Pham. A shocker. I don't get Junior. I don't have a lot of options here.
No, I'm not shocked because there's other relievers that are.
You know what?
Starters are going to have 2
starts. I gotta pee, and I just want to get this out right now. Give me Corey Jolks as my pick.
Whoa.
Corey Jolks. Corey Jolks.
Is it his pick?
I actually had Jay going second.
Okay.
Were you going to pick Jolks?
No. He's on that list of Pedro's not going to play him. I'm competing against, and I said I wasn't going to say his name in the show. I'm not only competing against stats, I'm competing against trying to guess who he's going to play.
Yeah.
Like I'm competing against like who's going to get hurt. For example, if I'm looking at the splits, Eloy Jimenez would have been my pick. Okay, since he took that one. He's on the IL. Okay, and then my next pick, which would be Paul DeYoung or Corey Lee, I got to think about when he's going to play him. Like how many games is Pedro going to play him during the week? So I'm going to go. I'm going to go and say I'm going to go with Paul DeYoung.
Damn, I'm trying to remember. Oh, Jay picked DeYoung last week. Like I knew someone picked him recently.
So I'm going to go with him. I just don't think he's going to play Corey as much.
And that drives me out. I wanted to bring up during if we were going to do Pedro Grounds talking about his statement about Benintendi as the pillar to this offense, but I feel like what you just said, Maldonado is also I feel like a pillar in that offense of his, because Corey Lee should be getting the majority of at bats and playing time at catcher, but like you said, you just don't know with Pedro Lytics Jr.
Yeah,
what we got going on?
Somebody said, so I'm gonna clear that up, and you guys can cut this clip. Somebody made it seem like I created the word from a negativity standpoint, and I didn't. When someone makes a decision in baseball or in a sport that I understand, I try to, just like in politics or anything, I try to understand why did that person make that decision in their lives or in a game, okay? Based on history, stats, tendencies. And in baseball, it's very easy. And I have a great resource in Ozzie Guillen to always double check or text message Alex Cora and said, hey, what would you do in this situation? Got a lot of resources. And usually there's two schools.
Why did you spell his name wrong, Gonzo?
Joke.
Julkes.
Bro. Michael Vick. I did not know a great name like Yokes.
And then you had the audacity to post it publicly.
Yeah,
that's embarrassing.
Yeah. Hey, so you usually have two schools of thoughts. Modern baseball, which is the analytical world, and you look at the stats and it's like righty, lefty, this guy does better against this guy on night games versus the moon, blah, 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 that side. And then there's like the old school baseball, like, way to protect yourself. Like you put someone fast in the top of the lineup and someone that puts the ball in contact at number 2 and who drives runs. When you look at his lineup construction, it doesn't fit into any of those schools. So I created Pedro Lytics. If Pedro was 33-14, we could be talking about this guy's moves are genius with Pedro Lytics. But since he's 14-33, the word has taken a negative connotation. So it's not negative or positive. It's just, I think that it's like his own thought process and his own thing that he's doing when he's creating the lineups. And he got a nice little cute name. They used to call it Ozzie Ball. Should we have taken that as a negative? No, they used to call it Ozzie Ball, even though that team used to hit more home runs than anything, but that's what the media called it. So I decided to call it, anytime there's a move in something, I just say Pedro Lytics, because I can't find an explanation other than it lives in Pedro's head.
I thought, for the record, I thought it was genius. For the good or bad, because I posted a positive.
And he's done well. He's done well
yesterday.
Pretty good.
Yesterday, going with the high leverage of Leisure in the 8th, Kopech in the 9th, when all of your arms are healthy. That was perfectly
why I won
done.
last week. And guess what? I won fantasy baseball because of that. Yeah, because he went with the standard, what everyone knows, that like no one's trying to get too fancy. That's the move. The weeks that I did not win was the fact that he stayed away. Let Kopech blow the game. That's okay. That's fine. It happens. But again, this week, and that's why when I say that, we don't know who's going to be there. If it's going to be the guy that does the right moves, or it's going to be like a change. And that's who we're guessing. He did it again with Nastrini, where he doesn't know that we have the video when he ripped him. Now he's like, I liked what I saw in Philadelphia. So we're trying to get to understand him. I don't think he realizes sometimes that what he says on the camera, it lives there forever. Like we can go and Google it or YouTube it or whatever it is that you're using. So I think, by the way, on that note, he has managed since the last show, the last 2 series. He has done a better job, and his stuff has worked. So you got to give him credit for that.
So standings for me, Jay, you got 2 wins. Junior, you got 1 at the moment.
I'm the White Sox. I'm the White Sox right now. I'm just trying to survive.
But that wraps up our picks to click. Now let's wrap up the show with some shout outs. Junior, I'll let you go first.
I'm going to shout out. That's cool. I'm going to shout out. Thank you guys for letting me join late. I had to play dad today and had my kids in the afternoon. Thank you, Alyssa, for joining us. Always a pleasure talking to you, especially on our show. And 2 things. Alyssa needs her own bobblehead doll giveaway for the White Sox. Alyssa bobblehead doll night. And I really hope that her and Layla Rahimi have a show together soon, or some type of where they can do some work together on the score, because that would be awesome.
Yep.
So thank you.
I really hope that if they do a show, it's under Alyssa. I think just
that'd be cool.
Continuing her from her platform, doing the podcast with the 3 of them. I think that'd be awesome. So, Justin, what do you got?
Well, let's just get the obligatory shout out. Got to give a shout out to Asia. She's been working extremely hard trying to get people's wedding season together. We got 2 fucking weddings, Gonzo, back to back in weeks, just because they want my girl to make the wedding cake. Very important, big, huge deal. So I want to give a shout out to Asia, because at the end of the day, we get up on the mic and we talk about all these athletes being consistent, being productive every fucking day of their life. Well, I'm in a relationship with a woman that is putting the same type of work. She's like fucking Cal Ripken, OJ. I'm in a relationship with the black female version of Cal Ripken. Okay.
Yeah, and she's I'm gonna say,
don't talk about my girl's cakes.
No. I'm trying to think about it. I'm trying to think about a manager who had a great team. He had to manage like a head case. You're like, she is managing. Man, I can't even compare it. She doesn't have an easy job. It's not an easy job. I'm not gonna throw that out there. Not all easy. Right. Not easy being the Mrs. Dragon.
Hey, it's not easy being Mrs. Targaryen. And speaking of dragons, I gotta give the second half shout out to the fucking Targaryens. Absolutely beat the dog shit out of Caleb, and now we're coming up on beating whoever this guy is next. Listen, Gonzo, the fucking crusade is coming. We tried to tell OJ about Caleb's crusade, another Targaryen. He didn't want to listen. Now I'm trying to tell y'all right now, Gunnar Henderson, Fernando Tatis Jr., fucking Michael Massey, for Christ's sake, Isak Paredes, we're coming for your blackout, and we're coming for the throne.
You're at 3rd place, 37-46, but within the hunt. You would be fighting right now for
I've been getting my ass whipped.
But I'm saying, though, you're still in the hunt. Juan Montenegro's on fire. We'll see how long he keeps that up.
He be cheating, man.
By the way,
I think he got fucking Ted Williams on his team.
By the way, who was trying to trade? Who was talking about that Julio Rodriguez's trade? That Gonzo was making him try it. Whose team is that?
Gonzo trying to
Nate
make somebody
Deluzak.
destroy their fucking team.
Nate?
No, you agreed to it, Justin.
Oh yeah, because
Nate Deluzak,
he needs outfield help. He needs the help.
That's why we're doing it.
You just made that guy do so. He was about to make his move, and you just made him go crazy. He likes Bomb. He doesn't like Rodriguez. Let Rodriguez go.
No, Justin's just arguing semantics with me, because anytime I get a chance to have some hope in Seattle, Justin tries to destroy my
they
hope.
don't want to win. No. Anytime Seattle got some help, we got to smack that shit down, because they don't want to win a championship. They don't want to win you a World Series, Gonzo.
But was that it though? You got some more.
Yeah. So shout out to Asia and the Targaryens, of course. The fire, the flame, the fangs, the scales, the whole thing. Dracarys. I'm done. I'm
just
done.
happy. I'm happy you have no more false promises in fantasy. You're starting to pick it up.
Okay. What's that?
I need to see Justin winning more. I'm sad to see him lose last minute matchups. So
Wait, what's Gonzo's team's name? Stuck in the middle with you?
Stuck in the middle with you.
In the middle with you. Yep. You can't say shit because I've always been contending since the get-go.
No, you have. You have.
Can't talk shit about me.
That's because you got God on your team.
Me and my baseball takes. You can't take shit.
No, see, here you go.
Can't talk shit on
your
me.
team is competing.
This is the only time. By the way, here's the thing. This is the only time he can talk baseball. What was the stat that he has to have? Somebody has to hit 10 home runs.
But it doesn't. So it doesn't matter because neither one of them. It's gonna take forever for
That's what
either
I'm saying.
one of them to get to 10 home runs. And
Alec Boehm is better than Julio Rodriguez.
Was it 2 stats or just the 1 stat? 10 home runs.
Alec Boehm is getting MVP votes
I'll
this
let you
year.
pick
Alec
one or the
Julio
other.
is not.
But who was the player that we has to get there?
Berger and Mancada.
Oh, no. Berger has to get to 10 home runs.
Uh-huh.
Or what did I say? 15 doubles or something?
Yeah. But I was saying
Tim
Mancada has to do
Anderson
that
hit a home
too.
run in the minor leagues, so his drought is over from the knockout. Does that count?
No.
Okay. I was just wondering if that counted or not.
No, not in minor league baseball. All right, my shout outs. I got shout out my girl Soraya for taking care of these yahoos of the 5 dogs we got in the house right now, for picking up our foster child who had an amazing surgery, and now she's got the cone of shame on her head. She's hiding. But yeah, this is some great job parenting on our behalf, because we have totally turned the outcome of this fearful dog that we brought into our home and now is very comfortable with us. But besides Soraya, I got to also give a shout out to KG at Little Joe's for being such an amazing host last week for our live event at Little Joe's. Also a shout out to El Bandito Yankee Tequila Company. They were magnificent.
Woohoo!
Giving us some nice tequila, and all the patrons at Little Joe's that evening. Can't wait to see, KG again in the off season, hopefully. Also, shout out to the magnificent Alyssa Bergamini. I was so grateful that I've grown this connection with her through podcasting from my last platform. We started it there and then continued on, and kind of similar to Junior, how I met him being a nice guest of ours back then, and me and him grew together a friendship, talking shit to each other, doing what we can because we love this game of baseball. But Alyssa was amazing with her time. She is amazing, and I'm so happy for her, not only on the game host side of it with doing it with both the Sox and the Bulls, but also beginning her podcast, Listen Up. It is going well. For me, that's about it for me for shout outs wise.
I'm going to say shout out to Soraya for listening to all my bad baseball takes.
Oh,
Wow.
Soraya, you're the GOAT dealing with Gonzo.
Yeah, you are.
God, we
look
look up
like
to you.
I hope that you don't talk about like your pitching stuff at dinner or anything. I hope that you don't even talk to her at all about that. You know that, right? I hope so.
No, I take my
He
frustration
gets
out on
home
you
from
guys.
work and be like, babe, Nastrini was tipping.
Yeah, I hope for your relationship sake. So I talk zero baseball to my wife, which is fine.
Why?
Because my wife could care less about any of that stuff. She's like, it's all dumb.
Are you serious?
I'm super serious. My wife is like she goes to games, but she's like not like at it all.
Let me tell you something. You want to know when I realized Asia was the one? When she told me to draft Bryson Stott in fantasy this year.
And you still haven't put a ring on it yet.
By the way, so is she the real manager of your success on this team? Let's be honest.
In the Blackout Show, Asia manages my team.
I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised.
She manages my Blackout fantasy team.
Now the turnaround.
Yeah.
Now explained well. I get it. No, and I get
had
it.
to complain.
I know some women that are into baseball, but it's not like You know, so it's funny because she does like the Baltimore Orioles because James McCann's on that team and she's friends with James McCann's wife.
Really?
Yeah, she gets along with like Chris D'Agost's wife, so she wants Chris to like, you know, she's like worried that he's gonna get canned, which he won't, which is good. But yeah, she likes the McCanns. So for her, it's not like she doesn't understand players and whatnot. But yeah, I don't talk to her about like this guy is struggling or this guy's doing good. And then she knows the guys I'm friends with, but she has brought up though guys that we know say he's hurt again. So I'll give that to Gonzo.
That might be Eloy. God damn.
No, not Eloy. I'm not. So it's funny. The only thing I say hi and bye to Eloy, I actually have a really weird Eloy memorabilia, and I still haven't asked him to sign it because I don't know how you feel about it. So after the Houston World playoff, I went down with Ozzy on the field because they had to do the game, like the shot on the field after they won. Like Astros won, they were doing the celebration, and we were like in the dugout, like it was like in the corner in the outfield somewhere. So Eloy was in the dugout when the game ended, and he ripped his red batting gloves, like he just like ripped them completely, like ripped them clean, and he threw them under the dugout. And then when everybody was gone, you know, at the end of like the shoot, I went over there and grabbed them because I made the weird comment saying this might be his last playoff or his only playoff. So I didn't think about it that way. I thought it was going to be funny, but I was like, oh, like, you know, this is the only one I can have his last batting gloves ever used. And I still have them. It's a red rip. They're not authenticated or anything, but I'm cool with Eloy, but I've never had like a deep one-on-one texting like I do with
you never said, hi, Mom.
No, he's been nice and stuff, but I've never shared like a meal with him or like, you know, I don't drink, but I've never smoked a cigar with him or like prayed with him or anything. Like there's never been like, we're cool, like, hey, what's up, hi, but I never like I don't have his cell phone number on my phone. Which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I think you should have one of those meals together. Bring those gloves, have them sign, have a little.
I'm sure he will. I'm just saying, I think he probably will, and he won't make
what
about it. Like I think he'll be like, hey, you know, like he won't make a big deal about it. But it's just like, dude, baseball teams are like high school. Like you just gravitate towards some guys more than others. So I'll be honest, like the reason that I thought Cease, okay, and Micah Kopech were going to be so good, in my opinion, was because when I met them at Sox Fest, I met them the same day I met other prospects, and I really liked the way that they both carried themselves and went about it. And I try to talk to them more, and there was some rapport built, where I didn't do that with other guys that were there in the room that were prospects just because I wasn't really feeling their vibe. But it just happens. Like you just gravitate towards some guys more than others.
Real quick, guys, for anyone listening, we got some more guests to come in the next couple months here. We got like a lot of White Sox. I'm not going to say names at this moment.
You already alluded to it, asshole.
But me and Slav are working on it at the moment. So stay tuned. We got some guys coming in and also more content to push at you guys. We'd even get into Beef Loaf's external hires that he wrote an article on. We're going to get onto that next week because that'll push us to 3 hours. So we're going to do that next week, guys. But we got a lot coming your way with either external hire talk or potentially trade asset talk and more minor league talk coming up with some other guys I want to bring on the show to talk minor league system. But guys, thank you. Truly thank you for watching the show with Alyssa tonight. Thank you for watching the Blackout.